I could go and get one. I could get proof.
I think that's unnecessary.
No, okay.
Bring over
no,
the huge slab as well.
No, it's fine. I'll be back in 30 seconds. One sec.
All right.
Talk amongst yourselves.
What's up with you guys?
What's he doing?
He's big. He's a brick.
He's being Tarke.
Being a brick.
Should we start it? Hey guys,
Yeah.
this is
Let's just start.
Hey guys, not Tarke here. Baeclast.
I mean, honestly, I feel like that's an improvement over the usual format.
Just intro yet? Thanks. I've been studying.
A lot of energy. Feeling it.
Playing Lost Dark Rise.
Wait,
What?
I'm literally opening it right now. How did you know that?
I knew.
Can you
I
like
could
see
see
my
the-
reflection or
I
something?
see the
What-
reflection in your eyes. I zoomed in on your eyes, eyeballs, and
It's all the joy.
You don't see that with me playing PoE? Come on, man.
Looks like a brick to me.
That's
that's
literally a brick.
What? That's a
An
cobble
old
brick.
Whoa.
I
What?
brought the brick over.
But do you sort of see what I mean by like the cobble brick thing?
It's a brick.
Well, no, but
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
said it's a double brick.
but it's like cobbles though.
No, it's like a brick that sucks.
But it's like it's made of like stone though. Can you see why it was hard to describe?
No, it fits you.
It fits you. Try it on.
Um,
Now he has a brick. Very good.
okay.
We already did the intro, by the way. The show is already going.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Sorta.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, Tarke Cat. Shh. Hey
What?
guys. Does everyone sound okay, chat? Is the audio all right? Yeah.
Opening.
Hey guys, Tarke Cat here, and welcome to our first Baeclast of Scourge League. Raiz, what have you been up to?
Nice surprise start to the podcast, Tarke. I played Righteous Fire, Inquisitor on SSF-HC. It was very Pogger's time. I found an early Saffles and like some other items, and it was super cool. And then I died to a game crash, so I rerolled the same build, and I died to tanking an Elder Slam because there is like 3 frames where Elder becomes invulnerable, and if you taunt him with your banner that makes you take 15% less damage, it doesn't work. And so I died to that. But the truth is, the first character, the game crash, was what killed the second character, because if I would have had the Saffles, then I would have had 4% max res that then, no matter what, would have kept my character alive. So that was cool, I guess. And then I started re-rolling, and now I'm sick in the head again. I guess technically I'm playing RF again. I rolled like a Spellslinger Glad that then wanted to be Corrupting Fever, but then I was like, oh, I'll never find an Empower. I'm just going to re-roll. So then I rolled a Elementalist Ignite Penance build that had like 600k DPS with an actual DPS Tarke, not like the other number that
Yes,
you...
I am.
Okay.
I am aware. Yeah.
It was a naked character with that much damage, which is impressive for an Ignite build, I think, considering the uptime. But then defensively, you gotta like play CI or CI evasion or any of the other variants of anything. I've tried out every defense, and I think CI evasion is the best approach to do it with. But then I had none of that gear, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go play RF, and that's what I'm doing now.
Oh, that's a shame. Because I was watching your stream when you were planning out that build, and I was really excited to see it. So I was like, oh, see some Ignite action.
I'll definitely play it, you know. Leveling it was a ton of fun. I was very leveling with brands in general was just a blast. Everybody was making fun of me for thinking that Wintertide's going to be like the caster leveling meta, because I leveled it the day before and obviously it sucked, but with the new nodes and the masteries and everything, it's so nice. It's great. So even with penance, you can actually level now. Cool.
Yeah. I've
I loved
only
watching
heard
your...
good things about Brands of Stake. Sorry, go on, Ziggy.
I was just going to say, I loved watching your analysis of your Elder Clap death. It's so good. Favorite content in a while. Your frame perfect timing of placing your banner to kill yourself to Elder, and then you arguing with chat that it's impossible for you to die to an Elder Slam, and then going to stand the test and then getting clapped for 99% of your HP, and then be like, oh, maybe it's possible.
No, but that's without the banner. With the banner, I tanked 100 slams and I didn't die. I didn't even come close to dying.
No,
ever.
no.
No, because Ziggy's pretty misinformed. I tanked 100 of them. None of them even came close to killing me, okay?
Except
I
the one
could've-
that did.
You didn't tank the 101st though, did you, Raiz?
Yeah, because that was without the banner. And then, yes, without the banner, about every 5th slam kills me. But the banner was down, but the game's bullshit, so...
Yeah.
None of that would have happened. None of that would have happened if my game didn't crash and I still had my Cephal's frame. Even if it critted, it wouldn't have killed me, okay? No banner, no shit. I tanked it. I feel so bad.
I love how this all just comes down to like, I don't know, why not just dodge it anyway for safety?
So
You know,
all the
I'll-
testing you've been doing, because I was watching it, I was like, that slam does a lot of damage, and even if with that health pool, I was like, how is he gonna mitigate that? So it's because you didn't. So you were relying on the banner for the damage reduction.
Right. With the banner, I tanked 100
Right.
slams, and even crits did not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
The Cephal's frame, though. Come on, guys. The Cephal's frame. That wasn't. It died to a game crash. I mean, come on.
I don't know.
Yes.
What about you, Niggy? How's your league start going?
Great, just great. I'm playing Poison Concoction. That's been a really good build.
You're playing it
Like-
in softcore SSF, though, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes.
It is, which is new for me. But I have been playing Badger's Private League, like for the last 3 leagues. So it's not like softcore is new to me. Like that whole journey, I really started liking it a lot during those events, which is why I wasn't really too afraid of league starting it. Like, because if I hadn't done those, I would probably have not done it because I would have felt, well, I'm probably not going to like it as a league starter. But it just, I don't know. I feel like the game has gone so far in terms of providing more content. At the higher, like at the upper bounds, to where there was a time where we played Hardcore Trade, and then that became item acquisition became too fast. Then it became Hardcore SSF. But I feel like there's then gone, like it's been a couple of years, and then in that time we've gotten content again to where it's very hard, if you're not doing super meta stuff, to push content on Hardcore SSF at this point to the same degree. Like you're very locked into, like, I feel like certain play styles and certain like build choices. Like every quadrant of the tree will have something, but it's like everyone else ends up playing. Because last league, I played like the Divine Eye Raider, and I played like all sorts of like I played like an Inquisitor with Static Strike and like Seismic. It was like super wonky stuff. But I kind of hit a wall all the time around like high yellows, early reds, where it was like a struggle for like a week at least of just farming gear to make it like really feel comfortable. And so I wanted to try something where I can just kind of have fun from the start and progress end game stuff at the same time.
Yep.
So it's
really
been
sad hearing that from you, because
Why?
I feel like you've been really killing it with the different builds, and like you've been meta setting on SSF and last so many leagues in a row now. It feels like every time you just have a banger one after the other, and then you come to this conclusion. Sad.
I mean, it's more like it's more if you want to really, like, I don't know, like, because it's there's just a tier difference between builds where it's like it's either you like run into the good stuff, or there's just like such a stark difference between like the upper end and like the mid tier
Sure.
in power, and it's really hard to go out like away from it. I would say the build I have right now, I could have definitely played that on hardcore as well, like as a league starter. I mean, it has some problems with like called fizz mitigation and such, but that can be solved.
Like a variant of Poison Concoction won the Soul Itself on hardcore race this league, right? To 100.
Did it?
I thought it did. Did I watch the wrong Twitch clip on Reddit?
I mean, was there a race though?
I mean, I wasn't paying too close attention to it. I
mean-
just saw the final clip where the guy got 100. But like that said, I would say the build is hardcore viable if it can reach 100 in hardcore. Yes.
Oh, it is. Yeah,
But I was on PoE Ninja today, and the most popular softcore class is Champion, and that kind of says a lot about
Is it
how much
actually?
you can,
Wow.
how much you can get away from the hardcore Champion meta. Pretty crazy.
I mean, I think I think there's a few things to take away from that. So the first thing is I've been saying this about softcore SSF for years, and now Nugiyen agrees with me. That means I'm right. So that's the most important thing. But secondly, I think it's also just looking like people just copy what popular people are doing. If it wasn't for Darky's Toxic Rain build, like Champion wouldn't be the top pick. It's just like a lot of top content creators were saying Champ, so that kind of just like instantly skews all the numbers. And also,
Grimro said Gladiator, and everybody's playing Champion. I mean, it's not like it's just because Tarke said it. It's the better build.
well, okay, so there's a few things to it. Like it's one of those things of all, like with all of the nearly with every single league up until this one, and you can definitely agree to this, Raiz, a new league comes out and it's everyone top 5 best builds. This is, and it's just people just throwing shit builds out there. There's been a lot of pushback from that mentality in the most recent few leagues, and this league especially, people are a lot more reserved with their choices. So going into this league start, it was kind of like, here are like 4 or 5 builds we think will be good, and there are a lot of softcore trade YouTubers referencing those in their guides. So there's a very big reason why you are seeing people be like, yeah, play like this Toxic Rain build, play that. And Scourge League, of all the leagues we've had, I think has been one of the first ones where people have got into it and been like, oh fuck, my character actually needs to be tanky now. So
do you watch much of that stuff? Because for me, as far as like recommendations go, I feel like this league has been the most clickbaity, omega, like every single build is the best ever on YouTube. It's been nuts. People were recommending shit like a month before, prior to the patch notes. It's just been so
there was okay. So
insane.
in my mind, and feel free to agree or disagree without like naming random channels. It's kind of, you have a situation of there are the click farm channels whose only job is to like draw people to RMT sites. They haven't
All of
changed
them.
what they're doing, right? They're still doing what they're doing. There's then a bunch of kind of like mid-tier YouTube channels who they pump out loads of build guide stuff, but they're generally of like varying quality. Some are homebrewed, they've made themselves, some are referencing from people. Those guys were mostly kind of doing maybe like one of their builds and referencing other people's guides. And then there's the other tier, which is then kind of like where I'd classify a lot of people kind of like us who might maybe put out like a video like, this is what I'm league starting. And then you've got someone like Ziz who's like, here's 5 other people's league starts. But it's like, of all the leagues, this league has been the least spammy, I would say, in terms of builds. It's like people have put out like one build guide or said, go check out someone else's. Whereas if you went like using someone like Badger, so Badger is a friend of mine, I like his channel a lot. It's like, if you look at the amount of videos he put out build-wise this league compared to like last league, or someone like Big Ducks, or it's just like even Gazzy, who's someone who usually just like shits out like a million fucking guides. I think he's done like half as many this league round. It seems like a lot of people who's previously their MO was just to make loads of build guides, and are only doing like 3, which I think is a good thing, to be honest, because you know the game's hard, man.
I think what if those guys just like kind of established themselves and now they're lazy, and now there's this like other wave of all these other Andys that are like, yo, this is the best ultimate fucking cartwheel best build ever. I don't know, maybe because I've never been like super into the YouTube space, and this league I've noticed it a lot more because I have been like looking at other channels, and I just felt like my front page was just swarming me with that shit, and they weren't good builds. like so rarely were they actually like remotely comparable to much of the other stuff that people really put out.
I think a lot of it is probably also just figuring out the algorithms. That's why you're getting swarmed. It's because people are getting
probably,
better and better. Like the people who do the clickbaity stuff are also the people who generally put the most effort into figuring out how does my clickbait then go through. So they just become more proficient at, actually getting through the YouTube algorithm.
Yeah.
I do actually think that this league has fewer builds from the majority of people because it's just with such a big shakeup with masteries. It's very easy making a build guide when it's solved by someone else. Right? So it's like, oh, here's 8 different builds. But it's like, it's not something they just come up with on the fly. It's like, it's things that have been figured out over a league or 2, 3, or maybe years.
Yeah. I mean, iteration of builds is pretty much always a sort of it's a step-by-step process that's done more by the community than any one person. Like maybe the initial idea for a concept, particularly if it's something really specific and involves really crazy unique interactions and stuff, can certainly come from one person. But eventually, after that kind of build has been established and in the game for a number of leagues and people know about it, you're going to have refinement. No one person is going to solve every single problem a build has perfectly the first time. It's just not how it works.
But much of the feedback that I've been hearing from people and some of the stuff that I've been seeing on Reddit are people saying that there are definitely less builds to play this league compared to like previous leagues. Do you guys agree with that? Because from my perspective,
no,
it's just going to take time to figure this shit out. There's so many changes.
Yeah,
I was going to echo that. Yeah. Like, I think there are, particularly from a hardcore perspective, there are fewer safe choices. But like it's a confluence of both the league mechanic being dangerous and still somewhat unknown. We're like, what, a week and a half in? So people are still coming to grips with the league mechanic, depending on how much they play. That's for damn sure. And the entire passive tree changed massively, and core defenses changed. Like, dodge is just gone, man. They just got rid of a whole defense thing. They added in spell suppression, which is incredibly powerful, but, you gotta... There's going to be a time frame in which you adapt. There's like 5 or 6 different build concepts that I'm really interested in, and I can't figure out what I want to play next. I need to because I just ripped, but I can't figure it out because there's so many different interesting things to play.
List the builds. We'll pick for you, Octavian.
Well, Nugi's Poison Concoction looks really good. I've been having a little bit of build envy while lurking in his stream. I need to still play Stormbind because I promised my stream I would, and I want to try doing Stormbind Ignite because it still has its more multi to ailments, and so it's actually able to put out a decent Ignite now. I don't think it's an objectively good build, but I promised my stream I'd play it, so. There's a Seismic Trap / Flamethrower Trap build I want to do with just those, so no like Exsanguinate, just pure conversion to fire, Seismic with Flamethrower. There's a, what was it? You put me on the spot and I can't remember the fucking thing. Let me pull
You've
up
only
my
got
pad
3. You said there were 5 or 6, Octavian.
I haven't. Oh, yeah. Rage Vortex Zerker, one of the things that I theory crafted before the league start. Crit Cremation Inquisitor that I want to do. And there's a Firestorm / Flame Surge Spellslinger that I want to play.
So that is 6. Okay, you passed the test. You can stay on the podcast.
Thank you. Does anyone else have to pass? Or
No.
Oh, okay. Understandable.
I don't think it's surprising that people have flocked to like one build that is the most like familiar and sold after a huge tree shake-up and defenses shake-up and all that sort of stuff. I think it's surprising that people are surprised about that fact. I mean, we've seen that in the past before as well, where like huge changes have happened to the passive tree and everyone flocked to the same build. I mean, I think like it's something that was like obviously strong that got a little bit of early popularity and good coverage and took off. I mean, I think even like Spectral Throwback in like 1.0 and stuff like that was following a big change and then was hyper popular for a while as everyone got a chance to play it. And it's something that's going to be generally pretty smooth and comfortable to play as well, I think will be the thing that gets flocked to. So Toxic Grain, I think, fits that build too.
Yep.
We can swing back around, Niggy, because I know we cut you off, but Ziggy, how's your league start going?
Amy and I have been playing exclusively co-op setup this time around in honor of the new Link skills. I was originally going to go like poison concoction, yada yada, because I think that looks like really good, and it's turned out to be really good as well. I think as expected, but the Link stuff, I was like, how many people are actually going to be messing around with the Link stuff unless they're like doing like a big Giga Chad group? I wanted to test the like, what is like someone playing with their partner with Link skills like, and how do they pan out in that situation? And I think GGG put a bit too much effort into making them like effortful. Like they wanted these to be active skills and not just auras. And if you start removing durations and stuff, I understand from their perspective how they just become another aura at that point. But I will say they do seem like they can be pretty strong. We're using Flame Link in particular. So Amy's playing Righteous Fire, obviously like life stacking Inquisitor with Flame Link. And the Flame Link, and I'm playing Armageddon Brand Chieftain Ignites. So the Flame Link alone doubles my damage, and then Amy gets to add her like Righteous Fire and Scorching Ray damage on top of that. So the net result is quite good.
Yeah.
So initially it was a little bit awkward, but she was saying that now like the duration kind of naturally scales up as you get a little bit further in. And the best discovery of all was that you can use life tap on them, which actually changes the mana cost over time as well, not just the like casting cost, which I didn't expect that, because the mana upkeep of them is I think probably one of the examples of GGG probably going a bit too hard on downsides for them. It makes sense when you got someone doing like a 6-man group and having them have a big cost to try and maintain. But I really think GGG should be encouraging as much as possible people like playing in just like a pair or 3 people or something like that and using skills like this. The other really big disappointment, to continue my ramble, was the discovery that you can't link back and forth with each other. So I stacked a bunch of block and I was like, so Amy will Flame Link to me, giving me damage from her life scaling.
Link to her, right?
I'll give her the block, so we have some real nice back and forth there. That's really cool. It'll be effortful because we'll have to make sure we're keeping it up and casting it. We'll have to deal with the costs and the gem sockets and the extra button presses and all that sort of stuff, but you just can't do it, unfortunately. It's really weird. And it's like, doesn't even make logical sense, because if you bring a third person in, you can do it. Like, if I bring a third person in, Amy can Flame Link to me, I can block link to another person, and then the other person can block link to Amy. So, like, you can still have the net result.
It gets inherited through. Yeah. Because you'd give them your block, and then they give the block that they are getting from you to her.
Oh.
But you can't, like, back and forth link. So it doesn't make any sense. I don't know why that's the case. I figured, like, you can't, like, have multiple links on the same person. Sure, that's fair. Like, if someone's stacking block and life, they can't do Flame Link and block link. But not being able to link back and forth is like discouraging two people to play together in co-op, which I think is something they should really be encouraging. Get the couples in there, get the friends in there playing together.
Yeah.
That's weird. I don't know why that's the case.
I think it's someone at GGG who's been the third wheel one too many times to look at those pairs. It's like, enough is enough. I need to have my day.
Sad.
So, Ziggy, are you going to train one of the dogs to start playing Path of Exile so you can get that third link?
Get one of the doggos to be the third there. Just a little bot to follow us around. Chad's asking how the range is. Otherwise, they're like pretty comfortable to play. Like, they seem fairly... obviously, I'm the one receiving it, so I don't have to keep the uptime. But Amy said it's like fairly comfortable once the duration scaled up a bit. So the range is like pretty long. You can... we try and stay close together because we've got developed synergistic auras. I'm giving her determination. She's giving me yada yada stuff back and forth. It's good for us to stand close together, but I often zoom off half like a screen away or around a corner and stuff like that. It doesn't seem super hard to maintain. And in the end, you don't really need it up all the time anyway. You want it up when you're going into Scourge, and you want it up when you're fighting bosses for the most part. You don't really need it when you're like clearing trash, so it's not that big a deal. Even in maps that could be really heinous, like moving through cells and whatnot, in the end.
I guess...
yeah.
Oh, no, sorry.
I was just going to say, Amy was saying that things got a lot easier once we got the infinite auto flasks up and running too, which has been a nice little discovery this league. So the flask charge changes, they, I think, buffed or added or something. I don't really know if it was there before. Maybe it was like a really weak version of it before. But they added up to, I think it's like 7 or 9 flask charges gained on hit, and there's no internal cooldown on it, like when you get hit. Which I know anything about an evasion build, and probably even on evasion builds, you get hit so much in PoE actually. I saw people like saying, "Oh, this isn't going to work. You never get hit," but you get hit in so much in Path of Exile. You're like running along, and some random like fire breath doggo hits you like 10 times in a second, and just all random spam because there's a lot of shit that hits you just doesn't deal any damage. It counts when you take blocks and stuff too. So, but the thing is, I got this. I accidentally discovered that I had a flask on with auto cast on full charges, and then the gain charges when you get hit. And I was like, huh, this is just infinite. And even in practice, I've like changed over a few of my flasks like that, and the flasks are just infinite auto casting now. I don't have to use flasks anymore, so that makes using things like link skills a lot easier. It's so good.
No,
It's
sounds
so
really
good.
strong.
Solved, baby.
I was gonna say briefly, also like thinking about it, your two builds, if there were ever builds which would be good for like constantly moving, like with RF, obviously Amy always wants to be like as close to the mob as possible. And then with Armageddon brands, you just like throw it and run. Neither one of you ever have to stop to stand still, which I guess is always the main problem with trying to maintain a link in a party.
Been really fun, yeah. It's been cool. Like that. The end result is that yes, this has been fun. I think the link skills are a nice addition. I think ZiggyD made a bit too many downsides for them, but it's fun. It's been pretty nice stuff. Like Amy not playing like a full dedicated support build. She's playing an actual build. I think her build's stronger than my build overall. She feels like she's playing Rushfire Inquisitor, right? It's pretty good. She's got like 10, 11k effective HP right now. Just doing pretty decent damage. It's nothing crazy, but it's good. And then, so she gets to play a good build and be a support character still, which is, I think, more fun in this situation. It's good stuff.
What about you, Octavian? How's the league start going?
It's been a little bit of a rough one. I've been having some troubles with Comcast, which thankfully will hopefully be sorted soon, as there's another ISP installing in my neighborhood in the coming month and a half or 2 months or something like that. But yeah, I'm on to my fourth character now. The first one, I was doing really well. I was pushing the ladder, and admittedly, the first death was not Comcast's fault. I stood on some explosions that I didn't see from what's the name of the thing, the Stygian Revenants. I was in the middle of one of those big King Harvey packs in Valdo's Rest, and the blue gunk all over my screen hid the corpse explosions. I didn't see him, and I went pop. So yeah, that was my fault. I should probably not have been so reckless with my positioning, but that was Helix Champion is what I league started, and I played that again after I died because I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to get to the point where I had theory crafted it around the far shot helmet from Heist, and I hadn't picked it up before I died, so I wanted to roll it again and actually get the helmet and see how the build felt. And I got it to 95 on the last iteration of it before I disconnected in the middle of doing a harvest, and when I came back, I was not alive anymore. So new build. And like I said earlier, I died literally just this afternoon, like right before the podcast. It was off stream to a harvest pack. So yeah, I need to figure out what I'm playing next. I have an idea for a Saboteur for killing like Cyrus and Maven specifically, because Cyrus is all spell damage and Maven is majority spell damage. So I'm going to get 100% spell suppression and use Kongmings, which gives 30% reduced spell damage taken from blinded enemies. And then Sab also has the reduced damage. So you can get 50% less and 45% reduced spell damage taken on a Saboteur. And then just face tank Cyrus, die beams, and not care, because you're already shock immune and get corrupted blood immune from the tree. So that's probably what I'm going to do, but I don't know. I'm in that post-rip fugue where I'm just like sad about the death and I can't move on yet.
You gotta stop dying off stream. What the heck?
I'm sorry.
Stop it. I need content. Come on, man.
It's naughty. Yeah, can't die off stream.
I was going to ask, would you consider making a build which is more like DC proof?
I mean,
Ventura's got one.
I remember that clip. It's really hard to do that. Like the character that I had wasn't really squishy. It had like 20k armor, and as a champ, so I had the fortify, I had endurance charges, I had like 40-something% block, and like I was working on spell suppression. I hadn't fully geared it yet, so I think I only had like 40 to 50% spell suppression, but like, and then just under 7k life. So it was a pretty tanky boy. It's just if you disconnect next to a harvest pack, you die. Like
Harvest is the worst. God, I hate Harvest so much now.
Like I
can't
click
believe
the
Love's
harvest
Prince is
pack,
becoming a
the
love.
I click the harvest pack, the mobs come out, I see there's a sub fizz or a bear, and then my connection goes to shit.
Even when
Comcast
it
can
doesn't,
suck
though.
it.
Just gotta
Well.
play some like Aegis of Aurora Spectre build or something.
That's what I'm doing now.
Aegis
The
is
RF that
actually
I'm playing Aegis
shit.
Aurora.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, they're very, very good now.
I have this afternoon flirted with the idea of going to solo self-found softcore until I get the new ISP. Just I don't know. I'm so sick of it. This is not the platform to rant about Comcast, sorry.
I think it is. Yeah.
I've had too many rips to DCs, man. I lost a level 97 character last league, a level 98 the league before that, and a level 99 the league before that, all to disconnects. And this last one was level 95. Comcast sucks. Anyways, relevant topics.
To swing back round to you, Niggy. Sorry, you were telling us about your league start, and then we got completely sidetracked.
Oh, that's okay. What did I? Oh, it's because I was talking about like build choices and such.
Yes.
Right. I will say on that, just to like tie a knot on that. I also think it's because I've become a little bit complacent in the hardcore environment, to where I feel like there's like a certain way to play to get things done, and I think going to SSF kind of like, or it's a softcore SSF, just kind of like broke that for me. Like just kind of like I just needed to like just shake it off, get all that, I don't know, all the ingrownness of being in that environment for so long and playing the same style all the time. Because like I play it right now on on softcore, and still don't want to die. Like I take more risks. I do really stupid stuff. I will rush to fear. Right, I rushed to fear, and I got that sorted. And like a lot of like, I wanted to just propel myself into okay, what does like early really good juice and having everything you want, how does that feel and look on an atlas? And I have to say, it feels really good. I don't sit there feeling like, well, I'm not done with this yet. Everything I do right now is inefficient, and that feels really good. But at the same time, I still play a lot of it as if I'm playing hardcore, and I will probably always do so because I don't know, that's just how I play. Like people, I'll go in and people like look at my health pool and everything, and they think, oh, you're just gonna die to Sirius, but he full beams me and I don't die. Because, you know, you layer the defense and everything, because spell suppression is OP, right? You have spell suppression, you can't die. And you set up like the right evasion with the energy shield and everything, and it's like just so powerful. So powerful. So yeah, the build is really good. Like it's also fun finally juicing some damage, right? Like getting the millions to just one number, but actually two now. We're closing on that, right? So that's you know, that's fun. You know, just leaning. I think if you are going like as a hardcore player, like just whether or not you play hardcore or softcore or whatever it is you play, lean into wherever the fun is. Like when I play hardcore, I like building defense, and I feel like defense in PoE has been stripped down quite a bit to where you can't lean into it as much. It's like you lean into it to the point where it gets the job done, but it's not like when we had Flash being with max res or, you know, fortified to full immunity and all these like things where you could fully lean into like almost like breaking the game. So it's like I like leaning into those things, and it's a little harder right now. There's like all sorts of armor stuff, but I don't know. My league start was like champion, snooze, anything else, softcore, yes. So that's how I felt. So I leaned into that.
No, I think that's really cool. And it's like, because yeah, I've been playing software stuff like 3 years now, and I still do the whole hardcore mentality. I think one thing which is really cool about it, and you might agree with this, is I'll still like make a character around a defensive gimmick, but I feel less punished if that gimmick like doesn't pay off. It's like my league start, I wanted to build around the recoup nodes on the tree. So I'm like, I don't know what I want to play. I just want to play something with the recoup nodes. And then I tried them out, and I'm like, they're okay for my current build. I'll save it for something else. Then I respect it into like a Ghost Shroud thing, and I've gone a more traditional way. And I think a really good example of that, like, still playing with a slightly more hardcore mentality is I take the piss out of Grimray for it all the time. I think it was like 2 leagues ago he discovered that defense was a thing in Path of Exile. And then suddenly he became obsessed with like, oh my god, I can make my characters tanky. This is so cool. And I remember talking about it. It was kind of as if he'd like only just discovered that max res was powerful or something. And I think it's one thing I found really funny watching a few people. I think it might even be a Big Ducks video this week. He was like, yeah, so I just have like determination on my sab, and he's like really tanky. And I was like, yeah, it's great if you just shove the defensive thing on your character. They actually like feel good, right? And I think that's one thing which has actually been a really big success of Scourge League, is a lot of those players who would previously never even try to do anything just a little bit tanky now, like, hey, you know what's really strong? A granite flask. And how excited people get when they realize, like, a granite flask? The secret tech?
You're about to fucking make me go on a huge rant, dude.
Go on, Raiz, go on.
I can't take the defense talk, bro. Seeing all the Reddit threads saying how defenses are worse now because you're forced to run 200 stacks of Scourge and all this shit. It's crazy to me, man. I cannot think how people can even consider that defenses are worse. From my perspective, it's almost as if they're like over buffed. Armor is insane.
Yeah.
Determination's getting nerfed. Grace is getting nerfed. I don't know.
I like armor and evasion being really strong. I really like it. I'm happy to see.
I like it a lot too.
I'm really happy to see a high armor roll and a chest piece or a helmet or something. Like, I'm sure eventually I'm going to start caring about the percentiles on items. You know, the new thing that they added this league that everyone was mad about. Like, it's, I don't know, it's really cool. They actually accomplished to a moderate degree. It's certainly not solved. There's an iceberg of a problem here to melt away, but they accomplished to a moderate degree making base items feel a little more cool. Like, yeah. I'm fine with seeing like, oh, look, some spell suppression. Ooh, some reduced crit damage on my shield. Oh, look, I got like freaking generic Fizzmit on my shield. That shields, by the way, are just disgustingly strong now. Oh, shields were already like one of the strongest gear slots before, both offensively and defensively, because you could get things like gem levels on them for spells. But now you can get 60% crit reduction for 1 affix on your shield. That's double like any other source except for the things that just turn off crits, like that one Claw Mastery. That's insane.
And it's not even like base defenses alone. Like, how many times have you made a character? Well, I guess it happens a lot to me because I like dot builds. And I'm just like, well, I can't leech, I can't regen, I can't sustain. I could like try to play it as CI, but the skill tree doesn't fit and it's kind of like whatever. No, now you can just get that. You get like 20% recovery with 100 flat on 3 different pieces, and it's the same weighting as it is on resistances. So you can just like make these insanely sustaining characters without even investing at all in your skill tree. And it's so freaking cool because, to me anyway, it enables so many different playstyles. I just love it. It's super early. I know there's still much to figure out, like Octavian said. But what they've done with defenses has been great. And to see so many people trash it has been quite sad, where I was really worried that that's what people are going to do. That they're going to look at prefixes and go, why would I get this when I can just get damage? More damage equals mob dead. Mob can't do damage. I win. And I see that happening so much, and I just wish that people would actually just like try this other stuff, man. Just try it. I promise you'll have fun.
I'm having to train myself not to literally instantly roll over flat regen every time I see it, because it can like roll up to 120 now or something. like that's a decent use of a suffix if you're lacking recovery in your build. You can get like 90 regen out of a ring or 110 out of a pair of gloves or something. It's really nice. It's really nice. I said this earlier, but I'm going to reiterate it because I just really want to hammer this home. It's great that this is all in the core mod pool.
Yes.
So nice.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't really agree with you guys, you know, when you guys would talk about like, was influence a mistake? I'm like, okay, I understand their perspective, but I don't really agree with it. I think overall it's still more of a benefit than anything. Nope. After seeing this, I'm like, okay, you guys were so right about that shit. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's I've been so anti-influence science for a long time. I think a really good example of that is, so I haven't been able to play that much this league. I've been really ill. I've been helping my mum out quite a lot with some building work she's been having going on, and I've been getting excited about items that drop in like yellow maps, like a rare uninfluenced item in like a tier 10 map. I ID, I'm like, oh, this is really sick. It's like I ID like a pair of boots, and it's like 20% spell suppression and like 100 life regen. I'm like, dude, this is sick. The fact that you can just get spell suppression with any like evasion rare, I've ID'd so many like really cool items. I'm like, oh, and it's really fun getting like the loot is by no means good now. Like loot still has its issues, but it is really fun getting excited about stuff that you would previously have no idea to like ever have any interest in. And again, this is from a SSF point of view. Obviously, in Trade League, I'd feel quite differently about it. But I've been really excited about that whole thing. So yeah, I've been playing a Corsica Occultist. And one thing which was quite funny about my character is I want to do hybridy stuff. And the problem with Occultist on the Ascendancy point is I'm like, I kind of want all the points. It's like, what am I? Do I take the ES nodes? And I try taking Profane Bloom early in the Axe, and in the Axe on a dot build when like one dot is enough to kill the entire pack enemy. Like, I mean, Profane Bloom isn't that strong, so I briefly specced out of it, and I got into maps, and I'm like, I'll just try Profane Bloom. I was like, yeah, no, this is pretty good. It's pretty. Corpse explosions are slightly okay. They're like really ever so slightly, really fucking amazing. Especially like in like you go into a juiced up Scourge and there's like mobs everywhere, and it's like, oh, I can't wait to get a Death's Oath. Death's Oath Occultist must feel so good this league. Because it's just like
Death's Oath champion.
Well, yeah, because the champion scales it because of the aura effects. Yeah.
I'm actually gonna have to play that. I hate it.
Oh god!
Because
Why did you say that?
I found a synthesized amulet, okay, where the implicit is 800 armor and evasion when you have fortified. The implicit of it is that. What?
Oh, scales of defense catalysts.
That's good.
How does that even exist? That's like an entire fucking 6 affix item now in like a implicit. It's crazy. So I gotta do it, but
What is this amulet? I need this.
I can look at you.
Yo, I need that for my build.
I need to see this. I've never heard of that mod before. Can you link it to me?
One mod,
I can do it. Sure.
One mod which I think might be getting slept on a bit is I think it's something like up to 4,000 armor during soul prevention. That's good. That's really good. Just
I think it's
flat.
3K at the top end.
Isn't it like more if it comes like dropped though?
If you like unveil it.
Yeah, I think you unveil
it. Might be 4K with the Ashling unveil. You might be right.
Yeah. Or at least it's like 3.8 or something. But yeah, like flat armor, flat evasion stuff is so exciting.
Here we go, Nugi. I linked it in the chat.
I guess that's really good if you're playing with Molten Shell, because it's like when that is down, the buff is up, right? Like if you're running Vol Molten Shell, and then you layer the normal Molten Shell in between.
Chat with the other.
Oh god!
Oh, my favorite
so
meme
funny.
from this.
What the hell is this?
Show you a cool item on
And
Yep.
what the fuck?
the other thing which is really cool about it, and it was one thing I spoke about it a little bit in, I think it was in one of my videos reviewing the Balance Manifesto, and I said that mixed defense builds will be amazing. I'm kind of sad that I'll never play a pure evasion build again. And I do think it is a bit sad that I won't, but mixed defense is so good. And like that 4K armor mod, you can just be like a straight up energy shield evasion build, have that, and it's like, that's enough armor that it feels strong. It's like I'm running a granite flask on my build with no armor investment, and you notice it. And I think that's one thing which is really good about this league and the defense rework. I think in a couple of leagues' time, assuming they don't change it, it might be a bit boring just having to fit Determination and or Grace in every single build. So I hope we see more defensive aura options over time. Because if they don't nerf it and it stays like this, then every build will... maybe you seem like you disagree, Niggy. Would you not think that every build should be running either Grace or Determination currently?
No, I don't think.
Elaborate.
It's like, I think, I mean, I don't know, either, it's always good. I think endgame, no.
Okay.
I don't think necessarily. I think there are other options with, like, look at. It's just because auras are very powerful,
Mhm.
like in general, right? There's just so much damage as well, and once people start figuring out just like defenses in general, like for instance, I don't see a lot of people getting or talking about how incredibly powerful it is to get 8% fist damage reduction on shield plus chest. That's 16. That's 4 endurance charges, and you can stack endurance charges on top.
Yep.
Who needs determination at that point?
And then you go with Aris Pantheon for 8 more.
Yes.
Yep.
It's
man,
absolutely
you get
absurd.
multi-spell with determination. It's pretty good.
And then sure, yeah. But I'm just saying that there isn't, you don't need to put it on everything.
Yeah.
I do agree that it's incredibly powerful, and I think it's good that the defensive auras rival the offensive auras.
Definitely.
Right? Because grace or hatred. That's a tough one, because they're really fucking good, both of them, right? So maybe you need to fit both. Also, like, I've been running Purity of Elements, which is just super nice.
Does Purity of Elements also do Sap, Bristle, Scorch?
Yep.
Oh, that makes it okay. That
It's
makes it a lot more attractive.
Done.
I think actually
Overrated.
Overrated.
Go on, Octavian. Say your bit, then we'll attack Raiz.
I think actually like mitigation is overall in a fairly decent place right now for a lot of different builds. Like there is more max res in the bottom left of the tree, but there's max res on the majority of the tree, just not the top right. It's a little weird to me that they decided against that there, but the avoidance wheel could still be good. I mean, getting stun immunity is always strong. And then you have like the yay, good. I'm glad. And then you have, the things that Nugi just talked about. Min endurance charges still exist. Fizz taken as fire is easier to get on a helmet now, since you only need 1 unveil to get it. So, like, even without Fortify being easily accessible to a lot of different builds, I think through like basic gearing, and again, it's on basic gear, not influence stuff, so you can start to plan around it and use it relatively early. You can actually solve Fizz and Ellie mitigation relatively well on pretty much any kind of build. It's just avoidance seems to have become the sort of thing that's like concentrated towards the left side of the tree builds because of block, and block being still incredibly powerful. And like evasion is stronger, sure, but you don't have the layered kind of avoidance that you have access to through block on builds on the right hand side of the tree. And that's what's scared me away from them a little bit. But the more I see how strong spell suppression is, the more I'm willing to be like, okay, well, maybe I don't need it. Maybe I just get spell suppression and I'm fine.
See, the thing which irritates me a little bit, because I was saying earlier about how excited I was by spell suppression, I'm surprised how strong spell suppression is on gear compared to the tree. Because it's like,
it was a bit as well.
Like on the tree total, it's like you can get 100% just on the tree, but it takes quite a lot of investment. And then you can casually just get like 30% on a helmet. And it's like, so I could have this mod and save like 6 skill points and then travel modes on top. So
were you surprised when it came out, or because that's kind of the way that they presented it? They were talking about how
I didn't think it would be that easy to cap just from gear. Like you can very easily get 100% just on gear, like 3-4 pieces, and have nothing on the tree, which then makes the amount that you get on the tree feel a lot weaker comparatively, considering that's really all the right side of the tree got was like spell suppression.
I do still like getting at least 1 spell suppress wheel in the tree, though, because the masteries are so good.
Yeah.
Debilitate is really strong. The extra suppressed damage is good. Yep. The crit one is decent if you're a crit build. It's 100% crit for 1 point. That's solid.
Oh, actually,
yeah, but you're never gonna play an armor build that gears spell suppression, because you need to be armor, and if you're getting spell suppression, then you're not getting armor because
you could
have
be
to
wearing
have evasion.
armor evasion.
It's not entirely true, Raiz.
What if you're a champion?
Harder.
What if you're a champion with determination and you get 1,000, almost 5,000 flat armor from your aura and ascendancy?
I think just straight up armor evasion gears are super strong.
What if you just convert your evasion into armor?
I'm surprised that Iron Reflex isn't more popular this league. I guess it's because there's not build creators doing stuff with it, but
it's still in like a kind of weird spot on the tree.
I hate they moved it. It's harder to dip into because it's like 5 more skill points further along the bottom.
But it's easier on the good build. Well,
yeah, but it's harder to get on like all the builds that typically used to get it.
But the good build wants the evasion and can also still get enough armor. That's the thing about Champ. Like Champ doesn't have to make a choice, and that's why it's so strong, in my opinion.
Okay,
like,
but you guys are
just get both.
talking. All right, you guys are talking about like the obvious super strong stuff. Like it's hard to get evasion and armor in the evasion and armor section of the skill tree. Like, let's talk about some caster stuff. You know, how about you start getting some armor, evasion, and suppression on casters? Like that's a lot harder.
No, it's still super easy because it's
armor. Like you go armor ES on like all top left builds.
Or
I think you have to sacrifice a lot now to do that on many builds. For
Because
crit builds, you sacrifice a lot to go armor. You pretty much have to go evasion if you're a crit spellcaster. If you're ignite, I would argue the same. Otherwise, you're going to be pretty. Oh, I'm doing the thing. You're going to be pretty DPS. Like you're not really going to have a lot of damage on any of this.
Have you heard of Inquisitor?
Okay, to be fair. Okay, Inquisitor, I have heard about it because I've been playing it with RF, and that really synergizes well. But that's not a self-caster. Like that's just a.
That can totally be a self-caster.
But for example, though, just to stay on the typical caster thing, though, we can come back to how good Inquisitors. You can be rocking energy shield evasion gear. Just like it doesn't need to be every piece. Just like 2 pieces of mixed defense, and that's like 60% spell suppression.
That's what I've landed on. That like for any of those builds that are already much weaker than like any of the builds that synergize better with the bottom part, it's always going to be like energy shield and evasion being better. Or yes, you can go some Inquisitor with armor and ES. That's what I've been doing, and it's been pretty successful. But again, if you're playing a crit build, even if you're playing an ignite build, for casters, you're sacrificing a lot. The brand build, you're sacrificing a lot because you have to. Go crit to not be like ZDPS, and even something like running an Inquisitor for those builds is nowadays PoE. It's kind of a downside. Like, oh yeah, great. I'm not like the mob has 0 resistance. I don't want it to have 0 resistance. I want it to have minus 100. Like, there's just so many things that you can lower resistances with. That makes it kind of weird.
I do think there could be more defenses. Like, I do think that the right side of the skill tree didn't get as much love, and just on the since we mentioned masteries, I'm really confused by like the mastery disparity in terms of strength. It's like you've got Captain Axe nodes who gets everything under the sun. It's like corpse destruction, everything, and then it's like, oh, what's that? You got the trap nodes. Woohoo, 30 life on trap. It's like there's a really weird disparity, and it's also like some of the cold masteries are a bit underwhelming as well. I do think that like it needs another pass, like a couple more defensive options would be good. But I think one thing which has been really great about this league is I was someone who previously used to always care about, like, if I was playing an evasion character, making sure all my gear had good evasion rolls on it. But now I'd actually think about, well, maybe I will wear that one armor piece because there's that one mod I can get on that. And that I think is cool, that my gearing is less binary. There's been a few times now where I've dropped something which I typically wouldn't have ever worn on my character. I've gone, oh, maybe I will, for this one slot, have that extra mod on there or something. And I think that's really interesting.
Honestly, I think I would have a much smaller gripe with the like top right and right hand side of the tree in general if they just hadn't goddamn murdered Wind Dancer.
I
don't get it, and I don't like it. I understand why it got nerfed with evasion getting more powerful, because a more multi-2 evasion in an environment where evasion is roughly twice as strong would be, really, really good. But like, I don't know, cut the number in half or make it only apply to attacks without giving it a downside. Like, it didn't need to be patent pending GGG double tapped.
Apparently Steel Mage likes it, in which case I'm going on the record and say Steel Mage is very wrong. The new Wind Dancer is terrible. So for anyone who doesn't know, old Wind Dancer used to be you had less evasion, and then when you get hit, you gained evasion, and you had damage reduction on that first hit. Now, it's you take less attack damage, and then when you get hit, you gain the evasion, and you take more attack damage. And it's like, no.
It is good for boss. It's actually
very good for only attack bossing, and it's like how many bosses in the end game are attack based that you plan to get hit by regularly.
That's literally what you want it for, though, because you have spell suppression for the other part. So it's like it solves the one thing where you are vulnerable.
But this is the thing, is like most bosses are spell heavy, not attack heavy, and you probably already have quite a lot of evasion, so you already have quite strong defense against attacks.
So I don't know if I really even follow the logic though, because like I feel like the upside of the less attack damage taken is great, sure, but I feel like the downside in the case of most of the things that are most dangerous in those boss fights, like you could argue the slams are most dangerous, and that's where it's most powerful, sure. But if you, and no offense here to Raiz, if you're not dodging the slams, you have bigger problems.
Yeah.
Like you don't get hit by those is the plan going in, ideally. And you expect to probably get clipped by something like, I don't know, All's projectile spam with his swipe if we're talking deep delve, and that has multiple hits to it. So yeah, you'll mitigate the first portion from the cleave, but then the projectiles are doing more damage to you.
Yeah.
Like it's a liability.
But then you have
past that
evasion.
point.
It's built around having a lot of evasion, so no, they will actually not hit you if you have enough evasion.
But they could, and then you fucking extra die.
But they can't.
But if you have enough evasion, you don't
depends on
need
your
Wind Dancer in the
evasion.
first place.
Yes.
It depends on your evasion.
Yeah. That's my point. It's like if you
So the
actually
idea
lean
is-
into
The idea is you
evasion
need to
enough.
also cap evasion while doing it.
yes.
Okay, I see. We can. All right. So the way we test this is that we all take our characters and tank 100 slams from Elder on purpose. Okay, as I did, and that way we'll see who has the best argument.
I think
Very good.
I will say this. I think as something to play around, as a keystone to build around, it's not really very viable anymore because it gets killed by too many things, like in general purpose play. It's a very niche thing that you can spec into it for a node because I know, okay, this fight has a few things that can get me.
so. This is my issue, and I agree with what you're saying. But this is my main issue with it. They added just like generically easy defensive upgrades all over the tree. So it's like Ghost Dance,
Right.
Tree, Boom. I can't remember what the armor version is. They
Right.
took away that and then didn't replace, and then made that node way more niche. If there was another strong defensive, just like evasion tool in a similar part of the skill tree, I wouldn't mind Wind Dancer being this very niche thing that you could maybe take on some builds. But it's like, it's, as Octavian's saying, it's very limited cases. For general mapping purposes, it's probably always going to make your more character in most things. And it's just like, why? Like, we've had fucking Ondor's Guile, or which is now Arrow Dancing, which has been trash ever since they changed that. Like, I feel like that's kind of, we've now got Arrow Dancing and Wind Dancer as the two like
True.
evasion keynodes, and it's like, I don't know. Yeah.
I don't think
Little
Wind
bit
Dancer is
stuffed.
as bad as Arrow Dancing though, but Arrow Dancing definitely is terrible. And Wind Dancer is moving in that direction, which is not a good thing.
Those keystones are a little iffy, but have you guys messed around with Divine Shield on the left side of the tree?
I'm a right
Very
side
good.
boy, so not yet.
Not just yet.
All
There's
right,
some Inquisitors
I'll
I want
have
to
a
play.
rant about it then. So Armor ES is outside of an Inquisitor. The problem is that in many cases, your energy shield doesn't do anything because you get hit a couple times, it's gone, and then your energy shield isn't helping you, and you don't have any way to recover it unless you get a decent amount of leech. But then if you only have a little bit of energy shield, your leech rate is affected by how much ES you have. So leech becomes really ineffective and not worth investing in, yada, yada, yada. And net result is you get something that doesn't do anything a lot of the time, except maybe helping with the occasional slam if you haven't taken damage recently. Divine Shield is a fantastic addition, and it's really strong. So it's the one where a portion of, it's 3% of physical damage mitigated from hits is regened as energy shield. Now, that's not affected by how much energy shield you have because the percentage is based on the mitigation, not your energy shield total. Whereas, like, if you got energy shield regen, for comparison, that'd be like 3% of your total energy shield. So, like, 30 energy shield per second or something like that, really weak. But with this, you can have a lot of phys mitigation. It includes things like that armor and shield giving you 8% phys mitigation, your endurance charges, your armor. I actually wonder if it's affected by block mitigating physical damage.
It is.
Awesome.
Apparently,
Like,
to be fair, I haven't tested it, but
It is.
I've been hearing that that's actually
I mean,
the case, and I'm
that's-
going to
It
be
makes
using it now.
sense. It makes sense, and that's very good, which means that if you have full block, that's 100% of the physical mitigation. It's regen to you.
Wait, what?
But even with glancing blows, it's still like 35% or whatever. is regen as energy shield. So it's huge. Like it's pretty easy. If you're playing an armor ES build, you've only got like 600 or 1,000 ES or something like that. You know, something that would normally be just completely inconsequential now becomes a very strong defensive layer because you're taking damage. And the more damage you're taking, the more that energy shield is filling back up, and it'll bounce around like 1/3 full, 1/2 full, depending on how much damage and mitigation you have. And that's like mitigating half of the damage you take from every hit or something at that point.
Yeah.
It's really good. And it kind of, I think, filled a really good gap in these builds of making that energy shield actually relevant and making you feel good about being armor energy shield outside of an Inquisitor.
Yeah.
So
I mean, same for
very
Ghost
cool stuff.
Dance.
Yeah,
Same
Ghost.
thing.
These two, I think, like really helped the hybrids a lot, which I'm super excited about because I was always excited about hybrid, but it was just never really worth the payoff, or it was way too much investment. But now,
as a
it's like-
hybrid boy, the other thing which is very good
Go
for
for
it,
it.
to cut you off, Temporal Rift is amazing for hybrid. So
the rewind skill.
the rewind, yeah,
Mhm.
because you now have a way to instantly recover all of your ES, which is a massive thing. So between Ghost Shrouds and Temporal Rift, so I think I've got something like 5.5k life, like 1.5 or 2k ES or something. And like Ghost Shrouds, boom, 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 boom. You ever dip, press Temporal Rift, boom, straight back up to full, and then your Ghost Shrouds recoup. It's like so strong. Temporal Rift is like really, really good. One thing I would love to do from a build point of view, but like it's very much a trade league build, is just stacking all the recoup memes with life recovery % increase as well, because you can get something stupid like 170% of damage recouped as life just from the tree and gear, and you can crangle damage taken recouped as life on top. So you can get to like over 200% of damage you take, you recoup as life.
You realize that's a hybrid node, that one as well, the recoup stuff, because you want to be hybrid life mana for that, so that the damage you take that goes into you gets split to your mana, but then you still recoup 100% of the damage taken as life. So the recoup amount compared to the actual damage you're taking is far more impactful.
It's also really good for like petrified blood builds as well, because you can get in the situation where like you're then splitting the incoming damage, you're still recouping. Like there's loads of really strong setups of that whole thing.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad we established that defenses did in fact get nerfed. Sick.
I think it's more a case of they are more applicable and interesting.
Yeah.
Let's be a little bit fair here though. Like, I think people might be saying that defenses are the problem, maybe, but I think it's just getting mistargeted. The fact that it just so happens that Scourge, like, defenses are way better, and this stuff is fantastic, but Scourge is pretty gnarly. There's been obviously
like
some
casual
things that
200% more damage taken.
Yeah, I mean that as a baseline is a lot of damage scaling, but then tons of skills that were just like question mark, like the beam being tagged as the base damage being something like 7 to 14k or something like that. Like, how does that number get added there? Because there's just like, when does that ever make sense
the
to make that a number
Arc
for a skill?
boys. That was an interesting choice.
Yeah, the Arcers are a problem now too. Like,
okay, so we have a damage type which
unevadable.
cannot be avoided in any way. It's near instant, like tracking. It's just like 200% more damage. Sorry, Octavian, you raised your hand. I've selected you to ask your question.
It wasn't a question. I was just going to say that I said before the league started that this league mechanic looks fucking spooky with 50 stacks or whatever, and Raiz was like, no, it doesn't look that bad. I'm calling him out. Though, to be fair, Raiz hasn't died to Scourge, I don't think.
Yeah, it was because Raiz hasn't done the league mechanic.
Wait, does he? Yeah, that's what...
I never do the league mechanic.
Oh, well, yeah, that would do it. That's a great way of avoiding dying to it. Yeah, it's effective.
It's official. I never do it. No, I mean, people just do it. I mean, if people are genuinely saying like you have to do 150 and like they're just doing it, then yeah, I don't know. I guess it's.
I mean, that's the thing. People,
okay, right.
Like, people are always just gonna do it. You're never not gonna Scourge in a map when you've bars full in softcore.
It's like Metamorph 2.0, man.
No, this is with Metamorph. Like, it was a very clear, deliberate. Like, you've put the kill thing in this. This kind of just happens naturally. But go on, Niggy.
I will say early Scourge was these monsters are the craziest I've seen since the Carrion Queens. It's like I would be running at 150 speed past a guy, and he just goes, and I'm just dead with like 40 stacks, and I'm like very defensive, right? No damage mods. I just out of nowhere, it's just one frame, I'm dead.
If you
Right, that was the I don't know. There's like a triple beam, a pew, 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 like from kind of thing. I don't know. That thing was nuts. And then there's like the divine ire thing as well. I don't know.
I think
Some of those things were crazy.
The design of some of the mobs didn't quite hit. There are a few mobs that I think are designed rather well for the Scourge mechanic. There's the flame golems that start showing up in like Act 4 in the red zone, Calm Stream. Those ones have a big bright red dot on the map where they're going to land, and they take a second to land. So even if you warp in on top of them, you can shield charge or dash away from where they are. So they're dangerous. If you stand underneath a bunch of them falling to hit the ground, you're probably going to fall over. But even if you've just warped in on top of them, you have that tell. But that isn't the case for the Screamers necessarily, or for the Arc, which you mentioned earlier. And there's just some like skill designs that don't work great when you can't anticipate them, and maybe shouldn't have been Scourge mobs.
Since I realize we've gotten like an hour and we're sort of talking about Scourge now, but just briefly, just if we could round table, what do we think about the League mechanic itself? Pre-patch. Raiz. And we'll start with you, because obviously you've spent the most time doing the League mechanic.
As it was released before the patch?
Yes.
Why? Why would we talk about that? It's like talking about this stuff as if it's not going to get changed.
So no, I'm curious to see what you thought of it then compared to the patch, because
Oh, it's pretty much exactly what I thought it's going to be. Very unrewarding as a baseline, but then eventually growing into something that might end up being useful either through like the mapping. I did think that I didn't expect that there's going to be any currency anyway, so I just thought that like the crangleification of the items is going to be the main appeal, but it's not like upfront rewards, so people are going to be mad anyway. But then eventually they'll grow to like it. But the crangling wasn't really what it was supposed to be. It's getting better now in some ways, and then hopefully eventually it'll reach some point. Yeah, I don't know.
So would you still not think the reward is quite there? Is that what you're saying now?
Honestly, I haven't really fucked around with it much since the patch. So I wouldn't be able to tell, because from what I understand, I've only done a couple maps really, because I've just been rolling different stuff. But from what I can tell, most of it is like maps being pretty rewarding. And then as far as like the actual items on the ground, I mean, I've noticed the difference, but it's still not quite what I would want it to be, I guess. But yeah, again, it's a pretty shallow observation. Like I've literally done like maybe 30 maps.
Octavian, go. I purposely doing the hardcore boys first, and we'll do the softcore clips.
I actually think the League mechanic is in a pretty good place in terms of rewards now. I do think the crangled items that drop on the ground could just go away entirely, and the League mechanic wouldn't feel the slightest bit different at all. And that's probably not good. So I think that needs to be addressed further. But it's getting carried pretty hard by crangled maps. Like, crangling items feels underwhelming most of the time. And even the upsides that I've hit have been like, oh, I get 10 all-res with a downside I can ignore, or I get 1 to 7 local fizz with a downside I can ignore. I've yet to hit a big lottery item, and I've crangled way more things than your average player, I imagine, with how much I play. But crangled maps, now those things are really fun, and you have a lot of agency over how far you want to push it, because it has 10 stages of being crangled, and you get an idea of where the map might go towards the start. Like, you might hit enchants and abyssal jewels early on and go like, okay, I'm going to get another one cooking because this one isn't very rewarding, unless you really need abyss jewels and you're in Solus Elfhound. So I don't know. I like that aspect of it quite a lot, and I do think it's carrying the mechanic really hard. I have one really specific gripe, and I don't know where it fits, so I'm going to put it here.
I think I know what it is. Go on.
I tweeted about it very angrily yesterday. There is a third Crangle slot, which some of you guys probably know about, or maybe all of you if you've found the quest item for it. And the way you get it seems to be randomly when you kill the bosses that show up. And in high tier maps. And it's not related to doing them on a T16 or doing them in a Krangled map or doing multiple of them in a Krangled map. I have tested all of these things. It's just random. Why?
Do you want to hear something really fucked up? This is how I knew that mechanic was bad. Grimro doesn't have it yet.
Huh.
I've killed like 25, 30 of these bosses or something. I don't have it either. I don't get it. It would be like if when you did Hidden, you only had like a 20% chance to get 2 Maven points. Like the difficult thing is getting Hidden and doing Hidden. There's already RNG involved in that, you know, in getting all the splinters. And then there's a skill test involved in being able to complete it. There's RNG in finding the boss, and there's a skill test in beating the boss. Why make it so the quest item isn't guaranteed? I don't goddamn get it.
Yeah,
I really don't.
It's really dumb. That's right, Ziggy, you can restart. Nugi, go.
Right. Early balance was a bit wonky. Balance is a lot better now. So that's good. I think from the start, it's a very exciting mechanic, right?
Yep.
Engaging with it and like setting it up and like I'm ready to go into the other realm. Like I think that it delivers super well. Like as a mechanic, it's snappy. So that part is really good. Let's see here. So then there's the loot itself, the drop. Let's just say the drop loot. I mean, it's just it falls under all the problems that current loot has in PoE. This is not something they fix until like it's not. Don't expect this to get good enough until like PoE loot becomes better. It's like I don't know if you layer RNG on top of the current system, it just doesn't work. It only works in the case of smart loot, and they have said to us that they don't want to just implement like smart loot. They want to have smarter loot or whatever their new system is going to be. I don't know what that's gonna. I'm patiently waiting. I don't need that kind of loot to be the enticing factor. Now my problem. So I really like how it engages you. I think the maps that you make are really fun, but I have a problem with them. I have a problem with that. We ended up again in a situation where. Oh wait.
No, it's fine. Keep going. I need to fix the overlay because Ziggy left. We'll do this for now until he comes back.
Okay. So my main problem is that it's another one of those like, and I feel like it's because people they weren't patient enough to wait to figure out the rewards. And this is like a problem of, well, they've kind of like taught us this over a couple of years now, if not more. I did a 10 Krangle map and I got 100 catalysts. And I got 30 essences and some fossils on top. I'm like, I was really getting into this idea because I've been running like all the side stuff, all these like side all like the side content to get catalyst, to get essences, my heisting, my oils and all that. And then I see Scourge monsters drop 8 oils. And I'm thinking, why am I running Blight? Now there is one upside to this league, which kind of handles that, which is the Uber content is only unlockable through that. But if that's the only reason you go in, I don't know. It's really awkward how they kind of like they neuter the intermediary rewards of the other league mechanics through these through this. I don't mind that they're being like you can get some of that here and there, like a sprinkle, but to the point where it just becomes the whole currency becomes irrelevant because you have so much of it. Just seems stupid to me. So yeah, I heard a lot of people talk.
Heist is still really good. Sorry.
Like, oh yeah, I've been running Heist as well.
Heist
I mean, for you mean for those kind of things?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. I feel like it makes more sense for Heist specifically. It's just, my problem is that they have this tendency, if people don't think things are rewarding enough, to just kind of litter it with an absurd amount of everything. I mean, Heist was not a good league start, right? I don't remember how that was either.
Well, the problem with Heist league start was they changed how the mechanic fundamentally worked like 8 times, which was kind of a problem.
It is what it is. But I feel like that's still an awkward thing, especially since they're like kind of doing and like putting things back where they belong, right? They literally did that this league. And then we have Scourge. And that's just kind of weird to me. I will say though, it definitely feeds on the reward and on the fun. On the fun part though, I will say I feel like the mechanic it rushes people a little bit too much. Like I feel like if you're slow, it really hurts. I could imagine if I wasn't running a 200 movement speed, I'd be like, oh man, I'm slow for the mechanic, and like everything is so fast as well. Can't really it's I don't know, it's just super fast. It's really like juice on juice, and then if you're not fast and they're fast and you can't keep up with it, it's like you win more by being more of a speedy mapper. And I had some guy actually making a good point. So if you're a tanky, let's say you're a tanky character and you can just survive in here, the bosses extend the duration of the blood pool, like it pauses only if you can maintain 5% of its life pool per 5 seconds. Otherwise, it's going to start again running down. So I've had people who can't actually kill the boss in time.
Oh, that's what's happened to me. Okay.
Because I think being a slow character makes you slower in there. Being like you have to inhabit more time in an area that ramps up damage, right? So there's an inherent danger in that. And then you get punished by not being able to like actually take on the challenge of like the bosses in there. That seems counterintuitive to me. That doesn't seem like the best design.
I mean, it's the typical GGG thing of like, we're trying to promote slower gameplay, and they're like, fuck you, timers. And this is like the most aggressive timer mechanic they've ever done.
Expedition,
but that's... Oh, go on, I'll let you say that.
I was just going to say, Expedition was great in that regard, though. You know, like, pick your own up and down sides. There's no timer. It's, kite it out as long as you need.
But isn't that like the awful part about this entire league? We literally brought up all of this, and all of it came into fruition and worse, because scourging is like awful, and all of this is done after Expedition, where I at least finally thought like, oh shit, they're getting it right, they're listening, and then this happens, and it's like, dude, I like to think that the reason for all of this is because all of the main game changes are so extensive, they're so good in my eyes. Anyway, the skill tree, all of it, the core game stuff, what they've done with flasks, ailments, all the prevention stuff, so top that Scourge was left to kind of just like be this thing. But it's worse than that, because by design, it couldn't ever have been anything but what it is. And that, I don't know. I just think that's pretty sad. Like, I don't know what they can do to really fix it in a way that's going to make it meaningful, really.
Okay, I actually will disagree a little bit here with you, Raiz, on the it can't have been anything else. Because if you do I think the Scourge map specifically handle a lot of these problems, because they alter how the block mechanic works. So some maps, it just randomly phases you in and out. So you're not waiting for things to kill, right? The speediness of it. Or it'll only take down if you're killing, or it'll have there are like multiple ways that it'll, depending on how you set up your Scourge map, or like which ones you roll into, that you will then build that map when you like what kind of juice do you put into it, what kind of like modifiers do you put into it to like then run the map the best way.
Okay, so
I don't think go.
I want to ask you what he thinks before I do, since you mentioned it. I'm gonna rant, so just let me get this out of my system, because if I was streaming, every single stream would just be me repeating the sentence over and over again. I have the utmost respect for whoever made this league mechanic, but who fucking made the only shift when you reach full blood? Because what happens is you clear half the fucking map, and you instantly clear out the entire Scourge map because there's no timer constraint on it, and then every single pack you kill after that puts you into the Scourge, wait 4 seconds, really teleport back out. And it's like, it was so bad. Like, you run one of those and you're like, this isn't fun. And then I saw they were doing the manifestos like to change some of the mods, and I'm like, oh, they're fixing it. And they changed it, but they didn't fix it. And it's still awful. And I
assumed they had.
It's for me. It's for me. I don't clear an entire map.
No, because the way it works. Because I need to explain it to Raiz because he hasn't done the mechanic. It's impossible not to run into this problem. So basically, what happens is you shift in upon reaching full, and then you only lose blood when you kill mobs. So because of that, it doesn't matter how slow your build is, you will kill everything in the Scourge zone before you run out of juice. It's just by design, right?
Yes.
And you'll have never have cleared the entire map, so it means that every single pack you kill afterwards forces you over. And what made it even worse is I ran one today, which was drain life while in the Scourge zone. So I was losing 1,000 life a second in the Scourge zone, and I'm having to wait 4 seconds to shift down. I'm just like, bruh. Like, it is so painful. And, Ziggy, what do you think about Scourge as a mechanic? Both pre and post patch.
That one's a bit of a question mark, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought, because that was like, I think it was like the second time I ran that mod, which is like day 2 of the league or something. I was like, I don't know how this. People always say, like, how did this stuff make it past playtesting? I'm like, oh, it takes a whole community playtesting. But I was like, that one you kind of pick up on that problem immediately, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so overall thoughts on Scourge. I didn't hear what any of you guys said because my graphics drivers were crashing for some shitty reason. But the fundamental shifting back and forth, they somehow made that feel quite good. There's something fundamentally good feeling about that, like shifting in, killing stuff, shifting back out. That said, I do echo the comments about timers, and Expedition was exceedingly refreshing. I didn't like Expedition maps very much, but the Expedition logbooks were so fun, non-timed. Take your time planning things. Have good battles. Get sick loot. Great stuff. Fantastic. 10 out of 10 on that. But Scourge, on the other hand, does run into a lot of the same things we've had in Path of Exile for a long time. It's like timers and frustrations and so on and so forth. So I do echo a lot of that, certainly. On the reward structure, the maps now post changes are super rewarding. There's still variance in them because sometimes you get Scourge item drops and they're not very good, and sometimes you get oils but you only get clear oils as drops, and then other times you get scarabs and stuff and it's hyper rewarding. So those are really good, and I think the Scourge maps overall remind me a little bit of Expedition in the fact that they're way better than the actual main mechanic when they're working okay, because there is several problems even just outside of that one where you get stuck in Scourge land. But I feel like this is a non-core league. Like, I don't think this league should go core or will go core. So I don't know why ZiggyD doesn't just go nuts on the very next patch and make the crangling of items super rewarding. Because when it lands, it's really satisfying. And it makes me think that, man, this could have been a really fun league from the get-go if they just made it hyper rewarding with no intentions of ever making this core. Because when you do take that 5-link that we crafted Amy a chest where we got an item, a temple item with the double life roll. We mastercrafted the life as extra energy shield, 6-socketed 5-linked that, crangled it, it landed a good mod, it turned into a 6-link on the first go. Fantastic process, super fun. Really cool gearing moment that didn't take that long, and I was like, if the league was like this all the time, this would be so satisfying. So they could literally just remove downsides, and I don't even know if that would be far enough. But I think like having downsides is a more fun way to go about it. So maybe like nerfing the downsides and then buffing the upsides, and then just going really nuts on that, and then making the items drop like how talismans used to drop with the Loot 2.0. Rerolling system, so that the random drops make them like 1/5 as common. Like there are only a couple dropping each map, but make them really worth looking at and make it exciting to look at them, like it used to be exciting for a very brief time to look at talismans. And this could be a very fun league, and they don't ever have to make it core. They can just give us some, let us have fun. Just
well, that's the thing, though. wasn't it obvious that it's like designed to not go core? Like, I don't know. To me,
I feel like it, yeah.
the first time I crangled an item, like even the first time that I entered the Scourge, I'm just like, yeah, this isn't going core. I don't know. It was
really.
Yeah. Yeah, it seemed like that to me.
Why?
Anyway.
Why on the entering the Scourge though? What was?
I mean, maybe okay. Entering the Scourge is going a little far. Okay.
Okay.
On the topic of the itemization, though, like to me, that it seems like there's two sort of directions that crafting and itemization and progression of gear in general can go in Path of Exile, where you have the kind of crafting where you go in with a plan and you have a target. So you use things like fossils or harvest to do that, where you like, okay, I want Fizz gained as extra on my weapon, so I'm going to use Jagged and Scorch to get Fizz's fire. I'm going to use fire rerolls. And you can't really do that with Krangle because the mod pool is too diluted. So you can't really think, I'm going to get this and then go and try and Krangle for that specific thing. It's just your odds are not good enough. There's no point. But then the other side of crafting is just the taking a big gamble and maybe getting a really powerful reward with things like double corruption and all that. You know, maybe you're trying to target a certain double corruption, but usually you're just going for something big and cool. And the upsides in the Krangle device are, for the most part, not powerful enough to fit that bill. So it doesn't really slot into either kind of itemization scheme for Path of Exile. Like it doesn't have enough big jackpots to be the gambly double corrupt side of crafting, and it doesn't have nearly enough determinism to be the harvest or fossil side of crafting. So it just is in this middle realm where you wouldn't reasonably use it for any kind of progression you want to do in your character because the other systems are all way better for whichever one you're going after.
So before we go massive on that, I just do want to quickly give my thoughts on the league because I went AFK, sorry. I thought the league was very rewarding pre the buff they did, but the league was poorly marketed because all the reward was in the maps, not the crangling. And it's like pre-change, the maps are still like crazy rewarding, and now the maps are like ridiculously rewarding. I completely echo the sentiments of the dropped crangled items are trash. I also think that even if the dropped crangled items had loot 2.0, they would still be trash because we don't get enough of the tainted currencies dropping to like fix them. Because can you imagine if like you were getting these like pretty good solid rares dropping, you would still need to then sink all of your tainted jewelers into them and your tainted fusings, which then, considering how easy they are to get like just easy guaranteed 6 links and stuff, it seems kind of like whatever enchants all these other systems. And I actually think the crangling is good for mid-tier items in its current state. So for example, today I crangled 2 items. It was a pair of gulls I had in SSF. The first one I crangled, it got the downside of 50 dexterity and the 50 dexterity requirement, which did nothing to my build. And the upside was 8% of damage recouped as life because it was just the tier 1. I'm like, it's fine. I can just equip it and I've gained a bit of sustain. I'll now crangle my second gull. The second gull got the downside of like increased int requirement, which did nothing negative, and 6 flat mana regen, which is actually really strong because with the stuff out on the tree, that was like something like 11 or 12 flat mana regen. I'm like, oh, this is really good. I can rock this and reserve more mana with 0 issues. For just like mid-tier random uniques like crangling, random tabulars, whatever, I think it does serve a purpose. I think the main issue with it is the fact that the downside mod pool is in a situation where a lot of them just straight up disable builds, like cannot crit, cannot deal X elemental damage type. That's not very interesting. I said in a video, I think what would be a much more interesting downside would be something like minus 50 movement speed, which is like still a massive downside. But there are some builds, like you can imagine someone like Gooder being like, yo, I want 10 of these items with minus 50 movement speed on them and doing the world's slowest lightning warp. Or like, oh, actually, I'm a leap slam build, so while it sucks, I can kind of work around it. Whereas no one's going to be like, I've got 10 items with cannot deal physical damage. This is so exciting. Like, there's not any wonky build-arounds with that. And I think that's where a lot of the downside comes from. And also one thing, I think it was Octavian who said this, which I found quite funny, was when they first released all the stuff on like PoED being like, oh, have you read all the mods? It's like, no, why would I read the mods? Like, I can't get them. Like I can't choose.
You can't target them.
I can't choose which one I get, so why would I bother looking at the mods, you know? So yeah, I think the thing which made me think the League mechanic wasn't going to go core was how much of the focus was on editing sockets, and that seemed very weird to me with PoE 2 gem system in mind. Like tainted fusings, tainted jewelers. I'm like, oh, why are they doing this stuff when they're trying to go against the system completely? Yeah.
I feel like I think it's more like they can lean into that now.
True.
Because there's like, and that's twofold. So for one thing is like, you might as well educate your people that this is coming, right? You can like make any item, because like think about it this way, right? A lot of the time in the past with like, if you wanted to swap from one unique item to the other, you can't. Now you can. What's PoE 2? That's literally that. That's like us enabling us to do that. Also, like they nerfed support gems. So now it's like, it's not as big of a deal giving people to 6-links. I really like that. I think it's a good thing that they're leaning into that idea. Like give people just the utility they need in that respect, right? Like you might not get the perfect type of 6-link. You might actually get a +2 or a gem or whatever in your unique item. Like there's a lot. I feel like there's the upside and the experimentation of using normal vaults as well on your items and then fixing them up. I don't think people are talking about that aspect enough. Like there's the whole world of like corrupting items and taking advantage of upsides we might not have really been able to before. Then I think that this opens up that's so cool, and I would love to see stuff like that remain in the game. Like you talk about, oh, it can't go core, but I really feel like it's time that they stop making things go core in the 8% on the map core. Like figure out a different way to where we can enter the Scourge some other way other than it just has to randomly always be there.
Scourged maps can drop.
Yes. But it could be from like maybe Vault maps can drop Scourge maps. Hey!
Ooh.
Like lean into the idea of it. Just lean into it and let the players have interesting ways of enabling this mechanic. Like the mechanic itself is enabling us to take advantage of something that's been in PoE. I don't know. It's
I like
there's
that.
a lot
That's
of
very
opportunity there.
That's good.
One small thing that didn't really fit in the rest of the discussion, but I wanted to mention. For Scourged maps, there is a prophecy called the Twins, which doubles the rare monsters in your map, and it works in the Krangleverse.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's very good. If you spam your silver coins and get it, save it for doing Scourged maps.
There's
Imagine
also
remembering
for
to get prophecies.
sorry, I was gonna say for Trade League people, there's the whole Watchstone thing you can do, which is kind of disgusting.
Oh,
You
I'm
can
familiar
like
with that.
I think Grim made a video about it, but it's like you can use the Watchstones, which like double like your emblems dropping and all that stuff, and then it works with the Crangled monsters, so it's kind of like slightly good.
The Watchstones that give a chance for a Splinter to drop as an emblem. Is that what you mean?
It's like the stuff that like doubles.
Oh, that works.
I don't know.
I have
I don't know.
Watchstones. I need to roll
I
now.
gotta go look up Grimm's channel to ensure this is what he was talking about, so we're not misinforming people.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I
all
just had the
emblems
twins.
dropping. Yes, that works. Yeah. So,
All right, Chad is confirming.
yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, that is insane. Okay, so I did one of those twin things, and I got 4 full emblems and 3 stones out of one map.
Now imagine if you had the Watchstones on top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's crazy.
Good for the people who want to do Uber timeless.
And it
domain, I
made me
guess.
really upset because I had been setting up my goddamn Legion, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm like rolling the Legion Sextant, I'm paying for the Legion mod, I'm getting my Harvest like free map, I've been like farming my Scarabs over here. Yes, I got 20 splinters or 40 splinters out of my map. And then I get 3 emblems out of 1 Crangled map.
Yeah.
You know? T1.
That's something I wanted to ask you about specifically. So how do we feel about, well, everyone but Raiz. So Raiz, you may not be aware of this, but if you do the League mechanic, it's currently just as rewarding to do the mechanic in white maps.
Don't make this a thing, not again.
it's just as rewarding to the mechanic in white maps, or even people are doing it like Harbor Bridge and stuff like that.
It's honestly more rewarding because it takes less time to fill it up.
Yeah, I'm just chucking tier 5 maps in the Crangulator to stack currency or scarab drops or whatever, and just turning those over real quick, and you can use some of your missions while you're there, you know, stuff that seems like the best approach, which is we've had this in the past where, like, you know, the lower maps are the best approach for the league mechanic, and it shouldn't really ever be the case. I don't know how they fix it in this case, buffing the drops of those things, making the mods more potent potentially for higher tier maps.
One thing quickly for the SSF peeps who have been slowing up their Atlas. So one thing that a lot of the Toxic Rain boys were doing was setting up so Gardens was their only tier 2 map in that region. So it was the only tier 2 map that could drop. But it also turns out that Haunted Mansion is the best white map to do for the Krangling thing. So it's a really good way of getting loads of Gardens, because you do all of your Scourge maps as Haunted Mansions, and you have Gardens as your only unlocked tier 2 in that region. So as you're farming the Scourge maps, you're also farming your Garden maps, so you can get your Porcupine cards, so you can get your 6 links. And then you can Krangle them and cannot deal chaos damage.
Oh yeah, there's another thing that's worth mentioning. I think saw some people talking about in chat, but I noticed this as well, is that it says like you need like level 68 kills to get Scourge juice or whatnot for things. You know how it's got the level requirement? That just doesn't work. You can do it in low level stuff. Lower level and it still works. Yeah, because cool. I was getting the bar filling up on some item that I was like way below the level requirement for it. It was just working. I was like, yep, okay. So they've got a level requirement system, it just doesn't function. Yeah.
That's very weird, because they have that with incubators already, and that works there. I'm not going to pretend to understand how it's implemented. It's strange.
Yep. Just works.
But, question though, because we've said all these issues with it, I'm still really enjoying the league. Are you guys still having a lot of fun with the league though?
Yes.
Yeah.
The league or the league mechanic?
Sorry.
Both.
Hang on, sorry. Everyone but Raiz. You're having fun with the league mechanic?
Yes.
Killing demons is a good time.
Yes. I really like I really like the bosses. They're very distinct, and they're very like they're very fun encounters, essentially.
They could have. It's a very small complaint. They could have done a much better job with the visuals indicating that the third boss is in the region. So there's visuals in the Scourge verse, the Krangle verse, whatever you want to call it. When there's a boss on the map, there's lightning bolts for the Archangel. There's big purple poppy balloons for Mr. Tongues,
and then like a red.
And
meteors.
then the third guy gets meteors, but they are tiny.
Yeah,
and I didn't even realize they were there until like the fourth time I found him. I was desperately trying to figure out what the thing was, and I was like, is it slightly more red, maybe? I don't know. No, it turns out there's meteors that are like the size of a meatball.
It looks like one of the Cyrus small, you know, when he does the rain stars, like one of those, and it'll like red, like it'll just pop.
It's one somewhere on your screen a few seconds after you warp into the
you have to kind of stand still in the area for them to even like,
which is not a good idea.
No.
The other thing which is weird about it is, and I get why they did it, because it's like they're the bosses of the monsters within the thing, but a lot of the visuals are easy to mistake for just monsters. So like that meteor thing you could mistake for the flame golems, the lightning zaps you could mistake for the zaps from the lightning monsters, because they do lightning visuals when they attack you. There's been a few times I'm like, oh, it's a boss. I'm like, wait, no, I think it's just the mobs attacking me. And it's really hard to see the purple explosions when you're a profane balloon build. I'm like, ha! Oh, wait, switch on.
The purple one? Is that hard? I mean, that's like blobs hanging in the air.
Yeah,
but
that
profane balloon.
Easy.
My whole screen is just exploding with purple. So, you know.
Okay.
I've seen a few people like who are Toxic Rain players complaining as well. Because they can't see anything because it's Toxic Rain, you know. It's
too many visuals, not enough visuals. The PoE community is addicted to complaining.
I think it is weird though, to circle back to something you were saying earlier, Raiz, about how this league, it does often feel like, I think Ballas said this in Synthesis League, he was very frustrated in Synthesis, that it sometimes feels like GG has to learn the same mistakes over and over again. His thing was during Synthesis how you could get like instantly attacked upon like entering the zones. There wasn't enough protection, and we kind of have that issue to an extent now where it's like you stun the screen, well, not the whole screen, but like some of the screen, but you don't have stun avoidance on your map because then you don't actually stun anything. And there's lots of weird things like that where it's like they could have had it so that when you go into the Scourge zone, you had like a Terminator style bubble that you're safe until you leave the bubble. Like there's lots of little things they could have done.
Seems abusable though.
I mean, everything's
they should
abusable.
just have 1 second invulnerability straight up.
Yeah.
They should be like a 2 second stun, 1 second invulnerability. Just actually make you invulnerable on actually clicking the thing.
Yeah,
No
but
bullshit.
then you get the Reddit threads that are like, oh, Path of Exile should be like Dark Souls if Chris likes Path of Exile's Dark Souls so much, so we should give players invulnerability frames and a role like on Diablo 3 PlayStation. Dude, you're gonna
Like you can't play around with that.
I mean,
there's like a cooldown to warping like around, right?
I mean, you're still invulnerable in that scenario.
No, but I don't. What do you mean? Like because it's when you switch out and away from something, but then you're already, if you switch, you avoid it completely anyway. So that's already what you're describing.
like you can already use the current mechanic to cheese
I'm just
bosses.
saying,
because you can like shift out of abilities while stunning the boss. Like you can kind
my
of
point
use it.
is that it sucks that you load in and then you just.
To me, it's really silly that they thought enough about it. They're like, okay, when you shift in, we stun everything, but you don't stun everything because the stun area isn't that big, and the fact that stun map mod, like, why does that work that way? What, like,
They fixed it, no?
no.
I don't know.
I mean, it's not a bug.
Fixed it.
I'm not arguing that it's a good thing necessarily, but like it's not a bug.
It shouldn't be proper. Like that is such a that should be a different kind of stun. That should just like.
I'm in agreement. I would have liked the immunity. Like I think Nugi's idea was good, but I don't think they're going to fix it because I don't think
I don't know why it doesn't even.
Unintended.
I don't understand why it doesn't even just have the incursion system. Because in incursion, it's like you teleport in and you have the invulnerability 10-second timer until you move. They could have even just done it like that, or it's like okay. You move, you accept it, but like the fact that there's nothing like that is it's odd. I don't know. There's a lot of weird things like that, which I do just find a bit bizarre. I love the league. I think the league is great. And I think the game. Again, there's the whole thing with the Scourge map and the force shifting, which like really irritates me. But I think there is something very cool about. Even like with the crangling items, the one thing I really like about the league is the fact that you can pre-crangle items. So if you're in a situation of like, oh, I don't know what I want to cook, the fact that you can just shove anything in there and just save up juice in it. I've got like a bunch of Maraketh bows. I think I've got like 6 of them that I've just pre-scourged. So that if I do decide to roll them, I can then instantly like upgrade them to tier 3, which I think is really fun.
I don't think you can do tier 3.
I think it's 2 at a time. I think it's 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it'll like over to the next one,
Yes.
but then it won't go to
it won't go to the 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing about it, which is kind of interesting, is the fact that if you want to, you can get tricksy. Like, you can teleport out of abilities. Like, if you have the Scourge and Temporal Rift, you can do some, like, really cool, cheesy things. Where, like,
Whiplash.
I've been surprised I haven't seen more, like, people like Tai trying to use, like, crazy racing, abusing this, just to, like, get, like, a cheese time. Because it's the fact that you can, like...
There's some...
Oh, go on, Ziggy.
You can skip like the arenas in like Duresso's area by like running through in Scourge, dropping a portal, and then shifting through without getting locked in there. I know you can like blink arrow through, but you can do lots of different skips with Scourge, bypassing mechanics while leveling. So there's some speedrun potential there.
Yeah, you can also use it to like scout ahead in layouts which should previously be hard by like checking left and instantly teleporting back to go right. Yeah, there's some really cool stuff you can do with that sort of stuff. And what I was going to say on that is I think it's cool that you have persistence. So before I leveled my Corsair Cultist, I messed around with a couple of different builds, and I briefly tried Blade Trap for a while. One thing I thought was really cool is the fact that if you throw out a bunch of like persistent traps, like a Seismic Trap or a Blade Trap, they persist into the Scourge world, and then they persist going back out of it. So you can do some really cool like pre-laying things. So like if you wanted to, you could like go up to a boss, instantly stun it, throw out all your big like things, like pre-lay like Toxic Rain, then shift back out.
Wait,
And they're like,
you can't go to a boss. Boss doesn't follow in Scourge.
no, but you can go into like a you can go into like a boss room, Scourge, pre-lay
Right, so-
everything.
Yeah, so
Then
go
come
on
out
the
and the
actual
stuff is
boss
there.
and then put it on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I see. You could do that.
Mines
That's
and
pretty
traps
cool.
don't persist. They do. If they're activated, they do. If the blade trap is out spinning, it does. Same with the Corster carrier. Like you can tray your pools and then swap over. I think there's lots of really cool tricksy things like that, which is neat. Which, if it's a mechanic which isn't meant to be going into the core game, like we are saying we don't think it will, we don't know.
People saying yes or no, it's meant to, it's not meant to. I don't know. Just maybe. I don't know. Why is it not meant to go?
Very insightful, thank you.
I can tell you, having played multiple builds, the persisting thing works. Like,
Yeah.
It worked with Helix.
Works with Armageddon Brand too, yeah.
Yeah.
I love the new Atlas.
Oh, I wanted to ask you guys
Yes.
about that. Are we all fans of the new Atlas?
Very much.
Yeah.
Is there anything bad about the new Atlas since the change?
Some map layouts that I liked are gone, but I assume they'll be rotated around, so just wait till they're back.
Oh, you think so? That'd
I
be
don't
cool.
see. GGG doesn't really like to waste assets, so and variety is a
That's
good
true.
thing for going from league to league to league. So I don't see why they wouldn't rotate in maps and rotate out maps if they keep the smaller Atlas, which it's been pretty positively received. So I think they'll keep it.
Hopefully they learn from this, because next league we're getting a completely new endgame, right? Like
Yep.
they're changing the Atlas over to a new system or something. So
Mm.
hopefully they learn from this and take that learning forwards to the new one.
Mm.
Can you imagine if the Atlas goes backwards for the next one? It gets
Hopefully.
worse. It's like, oh no.
8 regions, 542 maps. Let's go.
So okay,
Okay.
with the current Atlas, what problems or what about the current Atlas would you want to change going into the rework of whatever next league is? Like, what do you think is missing from the current iteration of the Atlas?
I want to get rid of Baron monsters because I am so goddamn sick and tired of them.
Oh
by
no,
now.
not Baron monsters. The fucking the mana squares. Whoa.
Yes, all of it,
nice.
everything related to Baron. Get
I
rid of
like
it.
how
I am
even
so tired of it
Chris,
by now.
even Chris said that shit was awful. I can't remember which Baeclast it was, but it was when he was talking about. He was like, I was playing in my Cyclone character in SSF, and I couldn't Cyclone anymore. I couldn't understand why. And then I realized I was going whenever I went on these squares. And it's like, if Chris is fucking complaining about these squares, then there's a problem. Fuck these squares.
But
Well, in theory, they are going away, because in theory, these
Yes.
conquerors are getting set to the side as
Yep.
some like minor side mechanic you'll be optionally able to engage with, if at all. It seems like. So goodbye. Gonna kind of miss him a little bit, maybe. Not Baran that much, but some of them.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So I can agree now. We're friends again.
Yeah.
I mean, remember when we first got these? Just remember what we're getting is going to be that experience again, just with something different.
Do we think that Watchstones are going away?
No, I don't know.
It would actually surprise me if Watchstones went away, but Watchstones are not like directly tied to Conquerors necessarily.
Yeah.
Watchstones can drop from, they could drop from Maven content, or they do already, the craftable ones, or they could drop from whatever new iteration of bosses are added to the end game.
Do you think Maven's going to next league?
No.
I think Maven's staying.
To a different tree system. She stays, but they changed the Conquerors and Cyrus out.
Yeah. I mean, Maven isn't tied into Conquerors at all. They're like they
Yeah, I
don't
know.
interact. So
I hope she grows
Yeah.
up by next league. That's my hope.
Well, we're getting a new a new thing that came from where Maven is.
Yeah, I could kind of see like Maven you know how it kind of feels like Cirrus is like the tier below, and then you get Maven? I kind of see like Maven slotting down, and then the new thing's like the new Maven that's like on top.
Yeah, the elder brother comes in.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Well, ideally, that's kind of it. Although it's weird because Maven's kind of like the highest fight now. Actually, that makes me realize the change that I didn't realize until like where I actually got through the process was that like Cyrus is at the end now. He's not like halfway through and then you fight him multiple times. It feels like kind of where he should have been the whole time, but he's like, yeah, you get all the way to all your watchstones and then you fight Cyrus.
Right.
At Awaken 8 now instead of
true.
Awaken 4. So that progression is sped up, but yeah, he's at the end of it now.
Yeah, it feels better.
Yeah.
I do worry, or not worry, but I do wonder how Cirrus would feel now for a completely fresh player, because they go straight in at like 8. I know they can take their watchstones out to do it easier, but they wouldn't know to do that. Whereas before, it's kind of like, oh, Cirrus 4, Cirrus 5 is a pretty tricky fight, but it's kind of like...
You also don't have to do Cyrus or anything.
No.
Like, there's zero like reason that you have to do him, you know?
Like, do you worry about the new player going into Cirrus? Because, I don't know, I mean, it's a tough fight.
I mean, to be fair, the whole fight is fucking awful for new players, because it doesn't make... I still think the whole storm mechanic is so unintuitive. Like, okay, he's doing the storms, I avoid. No, walk directly underneath him. Like, what? That makes no sense. Like, no one knew to walk directly underneath him the first time they did that fight. Like, that's
I could easily see someone new to the fight just sitting for like 5 to 10 minutes, dodging storms, waiting to be able to fight him again.
That's what happened when I first did it. I did it blind. And I was just like, whoa,
okay, when do I fight? Okay, when do I fight you? Do I stand on the stairs? Is that where is there a button? What do I do?
Oh.
True.
Good.
Do you think whatever the new endgame boss will be more bugged than Cirrus was at launch?
Was Maven super buggy at launch?
Maven was pretty good, wasn't it?
I only did her once in the league she came out. I did not fight Maven a lot when she came out.
I thought Maven was fine. There was problems with like the invites.
Yeah, I remember the invite complaints.
Not getting stuff. Yeah.
I think Cyrus's bug level is a pretty high bar, so hopefully not that buggy.
I mean, if it's about as buggy as it is now, as Cyrus is now, it would still be pretty bad, though.
Oh, damn. Yuppers.
I think if I had one gripe with the current Atlas is that it's kind of like as you get more and more progressed and more completion, it becomes impossible to go downwards in tiers. If that makes sense. It's like if you're trying to farm, if you lower, let's say you take a couple stones out, right? And you want to farm Haunted Mansion, T8. Well, you're just not. You might farm Malformation, which is T12, because you can run your 11s and 12s, and it'll keep upgrading to Malformation. But if you run your 8 Haunted Mansion, it'll keep upgrading to 9s and 10s, and you'll run like 1 or 2, and then you'll be fully upgraded to the higher tier, and it'll keep upgrading until it hits the cap of 12. It's super annoying.
It's not ideal for alts, like the second.
Yeah, exactly. You can't really stabilize the lower tier maps that you want, so it just keeps upping until you constantly like forced into like the top of the floor.
Seems like a fundamental flaw with this whole system. So hopefully the new one considers that a little more.
I really hope the favor system still bugs me. That it doesn't solve this, right? It's like that should circumvent, right? If I favor my Haunted Mansion, that should inherently just circumvent this whole problem of not upgrading up from
that. Should kick in like at the start. Like doesn't kick in until you're basically done as well. Like you don't start getting the first favorite in each region until you're done. And that should really like your first and second one should come like, as you're like completing your white maps, you should get your first one.
Yep. It should.
Yep.
I think that's one of my like mainstay gripes with the Atlas, if I had one. Also, the Awaken bonus is weird that it upgrades the effect of everything all the time, and you have no control. Like, you can never downgrade it again. Just annoying.
I mean, hopefully because that's something we've mentioned a few times, and specifically on the last set of like Chris Q&As. Hopefully, that's something to think about going to the new Atlas. Since we've kind of talked around the houses a little bit, is there anything that we've previously discussed that you feel like we skipped over? Otherwise, I'm going to ask people to just sort of rank their week 1 impressions and what their next project is going into the next episode, so that next week we can catch up on whatever your next project is, be that a new build or an item craft or whatever. Yeah.
Sure. Scourge is fun, but I'm not that invested. I don't know if that's just personal or if it's the fault of the league or a combination of both or something. I don't know. I'm feeling not hyper invested. To be fair, I didn't set like a big goal this time. Like I was hyper invested in Expedition, but I had set a big goal to get the mirror, but I didn't really have a big goal. I was kind of like, yeah, I want to, get up and do that Uber stuff, but I didn't, not feeling hyper invested this time. I don't know if other people feel the same way. So I don't really know what my project for next week will be. I guess we'll see.
Not any like build ideas you want to explore, or?
I don't even know yet. Like, there's other stuff I potentially want to play, but I'll be continuing with the co-op stuff for a bit, for sure. Doing a bit. We've got more to do there. Oh yeah, we never mentioned Delve, but Delve's sick now, just as an aside. Yeah. Holy shit, those Delve buffs are so fun. I actually want to Delve again for the first time in years.
Well, I think you have your goal then, don't you? Try and do a deep delver.
Maybe. I mean, I don't even feel like I have to deep delve anymore. Like, I feel like I enjoyed Delve at all levels. From the moment I went in, it was immediately fun. So that's great. That's a great outcome.
Raiz.
I'm kind of trying to not get excited. I mean, I'll be honest, these sort of patches, like even the last one where everybody was pretty skeptical about it. Well, a lot of people anyway, not everybody. These are the perfect patches for me, when everything changes, when you have to experiment, where you can't just like put in numbers into POB and decide that this is good or this is bad. You have to have a feel for it. And this patch is pretty perfect when it comes to that. So I'm pretty pumped up to keep playing. And I guess the goal is really like understanding the new defenses for hardcore, finding viable setups for casters. And yeah, other than that, future projects, Lost Ark beta's happening in like 3 days. So I'm playing that for a week and then I'm coming back to PoE, which I'm probably gonna do a fresh start again. I don't know. Because I have some cool stuff on my league. So I kind of don't want to fuck with that, but then also I do want to start fresh.
So what you're saying
it's gonna be tricky.
What you're saying is Path of Exile is a dead game and you're never going to play it again?
Right, exactly,
right.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to the Reddit thread to be made. Path of Exile so bad, Raiz is already playing Lost Ark, even though he's been waiting for this game for like 20 years,
Yeah, it's always super hard to convey stuff like that, because I really have been waiting for Lost Ark for like 8 years, right? So I do want to play the beta. It's been a long freaking time, I've been playing the Russian version and everything, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to convey because again, it's a choice, right? I really do enjoy this league a lot. It's probably so far, other than the last league, probably my most fun league in a long time. Yep. There's nothing like concrete that I'm really enjoying, but the overall everything, super nice.
As a patch, it's a great patch.
Yeah, it's just a fantastic patch, exactly. And again, it's so nice for rerolling too, because like you don't have to fucking sit in red tier maps until you get 1 million watchstones for like an eternity. You can just kind of like get that shit done, and that was kind of my goal too, where usually I would be rerolling almost immediately, but here I just like sat down for, even though I had a game crash death, I sat down for like 2 days and my Atlas was done and I was super happy with it.
What about you, Niggy?
What was the question again?
If there was just anything that you felt like you didn't get to talk enough about, and then what would kind of be your goals for next week sort of thing?
Yeah. There's one thing I think. Oh, right. So I really, if there's one thing I would just love to see from ZiggyD is that I just want them to lean into their league mechanics more. It's like just make the league. So I think with all the revamping for all the other mechanics, making them super fun means that we have a super fun game baseline. I think it's time that they just show people that the baseline game is where the majority of your fun is going to be, and then there's this cherry on top, which can be the league mechanic for you, where you can come back to a league and not feel as if the only thing that matters is whether or not you're having fun with the league mechanic. Because I think that's where a lot of people fall into these days, and I think it's something that they've kind of like educated people that that's how they're supposed to play. I think that's unfortunate. So it's like, if you like volleying and all sorts of stuff, there's tons of volleying stuff going on over here. Not like everything else, too. So I want to see more of that. I'm having a lot of fun. It's probably my most enjoyable league in I don't know in a long time. Be it because I'm trying something new or not, I don't know. I don't know. I think the league mechanic is great. I think all the changes to all the leagues and Delve and the Atlas is all moving in a much better direction. And if I feel like they really heard the feedback, so that's good. My next project, become Giga Chad, basically. Like in the words of Steel, I need to find that build. I'm looking at like some Slayer stuff with a lot of charges and transcendence and all that kind of stuff. Or like stat stacking, or some like armor stacking in like with ES on like top side with Aegis and also so that kind of stuff. There's like a lot of options I'm looking into. I'm also gonna play a little bit of Lost Ark. We'll see how that goes.
Nugi also hates Path of Exile. Okay.
Yeah. So Dead League soon.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What about you, Octavian?
I think primarily I just want to echo what Nugi touched on a little bit there in the middle of his statement, which was that I think the game as a whole is like going in a really good direction right now.
I thought you were gonna say I'm also gonna play Lost Ark. Come on.
Probably not. No, given I don't have an account. But yeah, no. I think the game as a whole is going in a really great direction right now. Like the polish to things like Delve and the addition of that top end peak for people to push for. Like there's so many little things that have been added with this patch. Even the defensive changes, I'm actually almost entirely on board with the exception of Wind Dancer. But we talked around that already. So yeah, no, I mean I've nitpicked a lot, and like as a whole, we've nitpicked a good amount on this podcast. But I'm actually like really positive about this league. I am enjoying Scourge quite a bit for both the patch and the league itself. As far as goals, get a better ISP. I don't know. In-game goals. I need to figure out whether I want to. I've narrowed it down to 2. And you figure out whether I want to play Rage Vortex Berserker or do the Saboteur bossing build. And I cannot make up my mind which. I will figure it out.
Fair enough. For me, before I get into my things, I want to say shout out to all 4 of the standard players. You guys are putting up with some bullshit at the moment. I was shocked when I read that last post in GG's like... Yes. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, Standard, all their map tabs, which they paid money for, got bricked with the changes to the Atlas. Like hard, it's a big deal. And GG's like, we plan to address this by 3.17, or hopefully before 3.17. It's like, what do you mean? You hope to get this sorted before 3.17? Like, this is a big deal. Like, I was so surprised when I read that. Yeah, it's like, you play Standard because for whatever reason, because there's a lot of people I know who play Standard because they haven't got the time to play in leagues. Like, I've got very limited schedules. I can only play a couple of hours here and now. It's not because they're like, not everyone in Standard is these like mirror trading Andes. And for that kind of person, I would be so frustrated. And I definitely wouldn't feel like a priority player. And I know that is an issue a lot of the times with Standard players. They feel like they're not the priority. Like, they're still paying customers at the end of the day. And yeah, I think that's an atrocious way to treat part of your player base. For me personally, though, I've been having, considering how little I've actually been able to play this league and like how awful of an IRL league start that's been for me. I've got like hit with throat infections, colds, every single like random hospital appointment all at once, helping Mum with some like building work and whatever, I'm still having a lot of fun, and I think a lot of that is because of the shrinking of the Atlas. Like I feel behind in my terms of progression, but with this change, I feel like I've made progression. With the old system, I would be so disheartened. Under the old system, at this point, I'd be like, I may as well just restart the league because I haven't achieved anything. Whereas now it's like I've got most of my watchstones. I'm only missing like 2 or 3, and I've got like a decent amount of red map action going on, and like I'm the equivalent of like day 3 of the league rather than like 10 or 11 or whatever it is now. So I've been really happy with that aspect of it. So hopefully keep playing on my current Corsair build, get everything sorted out, get it to like mid-90s, like 95, 96, and reroll. I got a pair of Pain Seekers drop, which are the Your Ailments Are Broken gloves. So I'm planning on doing something with those for my second build. I don't know if you guys have got any fun suggestions for builds that really abuse the hell out of those gloves.
David.
Build that like crit, yes.
Oh, build the crit, yes.
I mean, I'm only being half joking here. 15 base crit is very good.
Okay, well, I look forward to doing build that crit, yes, at some point in the coming weeks. But I'd like to thank everyone for coming on. I hope everyone has had a fun time. And we're maybe having Chris on mid next week. It was planned to maybe have him on for like week 2. Otherwise, you'll have to just tune in to hear what our adventures are and what Raiz has been up to. But yes. Thanks.
I think Chris is going to be playing Lost Ark. I don't think he can make it.
We can always
probably
interview Chris
no. I don't
about
think we have
his thoughts
servers
on Lost Ark. You know.
Oh yeah, you
It's
guys
probably
don't
like
have
me.
servers.
Yeah, we don't have servers.
What?
But you
Oh,
can
no,
play
hang on.
now. The region's
Yeah.
unlocked.
Yes, we're allowed to play now. Oh, thank you, benevolent Lost Ark overlords. 1 decade later, you finally released the game for us to play, and we don't get servers. Oh, so gracious. Thank you. I bow. I kiss your toes. Here's $100.
Free game. No complaining. Literally free game. Unbelievable.
Just like Path of Exile.
Maybe if you ask Chris for a servers, he'll get them for you, Ziggy. I still get messages from the South African guys because they got their servers after we were nagging. I mean, people nagged right for a very long time, but that's really they got servers, you know. I'm sure
They're
Chris
good now too.
Apparently.
Nice.
So yeah. Apparently, you know, I mean, Chris can I don't know how this works, but I imagine Chris can get servers for other game companies. There's nothing to do with. That's how the industry
That's
works,
exactly
isn't it?
how it works.
Sure.
Yep.
Oh, I know. Actually, he could rent out the Australian Path of Exile servers to Lost Ark because Pee-wee's a dead game. Easy fix.
Sure.
Yep.
Everyone's playing Lost Ark. Might as well. Not me.
That's something.
After I fix some bugs. Very good. I'll get
Nobody
right on
wants
that.
the Path of Exile servers. It's like, no, it's okay. You can keep them.
Have you doing an outro or that's
No, that was
That's what we were waiting for.
No.
Yeah.
That was it.
Oh, okay, good. Yep.
Yep.
I've been playing Age of Empires 4. Anyone been
Oh,
playing
I've
that?
heard that's really good. Is it fun?
It is really good. I'm loving it. I'm like, oh, my child. I kind of didn't have any hype built up for it, which is probably the right approach. But then it was a buck because of the Game Pass. I was like, I'll give it a try for a month and then for $1. And I'm like, ooh, me childhood. Ooh.
Are you
It feels
doing
good.
like
It's
campaign
very
or
AoE.
like PvP or?
I haven't played the campaign yet at all.
Oh,
I've played some games versus viewers and played some quick matches. I've been doing pretty alright for my low MMR ranking, but dude, it's been fun. Building my longbowman, getting to shove stakes in the ground so people try to cavalry charge me and the cavalry gets skewered, hunting down villages. It's good fun. No, it's like they took some cool stuff from AoE 3, but it's much more AoE 2, which is, the best one. So it's good stuff. The sieging stuff's really cool. You have to actually build siege equipment. You guys can build siege equipment in the field. You can stand archers on the walls. Stuff like that. It's just really fun in this.
Hang on,
The
sorry.
soundtrack.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Octavian, we need to explain this to you. So, Octavian, Age of Empires is a famous game series.
Actually, this one
is
you're gonna
this
have to-
one of the
Serial
2
boxes.
games
This
you've
is-
played?
This was the game that my grandparents had on CD, and I was allowed to play when I went
Oh
over to their
my
house
god,
as a
this is
kid.
amazing.
This is like the one video game from my childhood. This and Fate.
Octavian
The
has never been able
ARPG.
to chime in. Oh, please, Octavian, talk to Ziggy about Age of Empires. I'm so happy for you.
Oh, I just used the cheat codes because I was a little jerk. I was like when I was like 10 or 11, I would just spawn in a million little cars with the how do you turn this
Big
thing
Daddy abuser, unbelievable.
on.
He's a Big Daddy abuser. Get him out of here.
I was 11.
Your grandparents probably got it from a cereal box like everyone else. Everyone had Age of Empires because we all got it in cereal.
My grandfather got it from a yard sale, as he would constantly remind me, because he loved yard sales. That man is a treasure.
Have any of you guys checked out Inscription?
No.
Never heard of it.
That's the game that
haven't.
I'm
Cool,
really excited to play when everyone quits Path of Exile because it's dead
They
game.
made cards of me and Amy on the website for
Did
that.
they?
They did like a bunch of streamers.
Oh, that's
yeah,
so
a little
cool.
animated card of me and Amy. Amy with a koala emote character and me with my mustache.
That's
Same.
really, really cute. I really like this.
ZiggyD, yeah.
I really like that.
Amy with a koala and me with a mustache.
Me, how do I describe myself? Me with a mustache. That's me. It looks really cool though. I'll give it a try at some point.
I'm really excited to play it. So, for anyone who doesn't know, it's the most atmospheric game. It looks so awesome. The main reason why I really want to play it is I got really into messing around with like Unity and Blender a couple of leagues ago in my spare time. And I had this one idea for a video game. And the whole concept was, I'm like, oh, you know what would be really cool? A first-person isometric top-down game. And you're like, how do you do a first-person isometric top-down game? That doesn't make sense. And I'm like, you do it from first-person point of view, and you're looking down at you playing on a table. No one's ever done that before. What a cool and crazy idea. And that's what Inscription does. And I'm like, hey, they did the thing. So it's like there's card game stuff, but you actually have like your hand like holding the cards, and you can like get up first person and walk around the little room and stuff. And I'm like, hey! So I'm really excited to play it to see if I had a good idea. And if I had a good idea, I can be like, oh, I'm so cool. I thought of this before anyone else did it. And if it's a terrible idea, I can be like, well, I would have done it better. Nerds. And yeah. But
Isn't that kind of what Hand of Fate is?
it's like Hand of Fate, but like not trash. Hand of Fate is a really cool.
Hand of Fate was a good game.
Its combat was awful.
Wow.
No one enjoyed the combat in Hand of Fate.
Probably didn't need that with
Single
combat.
person.
Hand of Fate was such an awesome, awesome concept, and it had the most obnoxious combat system I've ever played. It was like, so for the way that worked, because again, it was a super niche game. It was like a tarot style system, similar kind of stuff that they do in Inscription. And you like, it's like choose your own adventure tarot cards. And then when you encounter bandits, instead of it being like a turn-based or whatever, you then whip out your gamepad and have really awkward, clunky controls that all the movement is slightly off. And then it was like imagine if Fable, but drunk and on like a second-hand joystick. Yeah. Did you guys ever have that problem? It's like when you went to go play games at your friend's place, and you got like the beat up joystick, which didn't like half the keys didn't work. That's what Hand of Fate feels like playing.
That's
See,
every joystick in Poland.
Yeah.
The problem I thought you were going to describe was that you had the problem where you go to play games at your friend's house, but you're just really drunk, because that's how you described the game to begin with.
Yeah, that was my issue as a young child. I was just constantly roaming the streets of London out of my mind, too pissed to play Halo Combat Evolved. we were just too out of it. We couldn't get the disc into the tray. It was like, yeah.
I mean, honestly, I've seen pictures of you from high school, Tarke. Like, I wouldn't be surprised.
It's like a top-down or isometric, or whatever you call it, kind of deal from Inscription. It kind of reminds me of Dungeon Keeper.
Yeah.
Like the idea like that you walk around and then you look down.
We sponsored, by the way?
No, but if the Inscription people are watching, I would very happily do sponsor stuff for the game, because I think it looks fucking awesome.
Here's the website thing. The website is piss up, by the way. It's hilarious. It's got like a little virtual PC, and if you go through the emails, you can like find some links in the emails that go to other things, and like go to the trash can and stuff. So like this card appendix they made of different streamers is like tucked away in one of the like draft emails or something. So there's Amy's koala. Where's Ziggy? There's like a people here. It's pretty cool.
There's,
So they made this. There he is. There's Ziggy.
Oh.
Nice, Ziggy.
I agree with Tarke. I would also like to do a sponsored segment because I like money. So I'm down for that one. Wait, would you stream that, Tarke?
Yeah, I would stream this.
Wait, but you don't. You wouldn't normally stream. But
Well,
this you
okay,
would.
no. So I the reason why I stopped streaming is my voice stopped working, but I'm on medication, so my voice is slowly getting better. I plan to eventually do more regular streams when my voice is fully functioning. But no. So I guess update for anyone who missed it. Like a year ago, I'd lose my voice whenever I talked, and it turned out I had like a ridiculous amount of scar tissue all around my voice box. So they gave me some medication which will apparently promote new cell growth. And yeah, I find I can talk for a bit more than I used to be able to. So hopefully, eventually, it will start working again, which would be nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
But
Are you gonna sound different?
probably,
Didn't tell you?
I mean, this is actually really funny and also really scary. So I went. This is actually one of the funniest. I was going to save this for a YouTube video, but fuck it. So I was meant to go on Tuesday to the hospital for a hearing test because I had some pressure in my ear, and I went in. I went in, and the doctor says, "Are you feeling confident about your surgery?" And I'm like, "Excuse me?" She's like, "I'm here to give you the rundown on your surgery later today." I'm like, "I'm not having a surgery. I'm meant to be just having my ears tested." And she's like, no. It's on the computer. You're having a surgery. And I had to convince this doctor that I was just there to get my ears tested. She then left, had an argument with someone at reception. After about an hour, they realized they made a mistake. If I hadn't have said anything, they were ready to fucking operate. Part of me was tempted to just let them do
surgery?
It was they didn't. She didn't get to do the full rundown because I kept interrupting her, saying, "No, I'm here for just a hearing test." But I think they're meant to be doing something to like operate on the eardrum or something, which I didn't need. My hearing's fine. But yeah, part of me was tempted to be like, maybe I should just see how far this goes. But at the same time, I thought this is a really dangerous thing for me to push because there could be someone in the waiting room who needs to have a surgery who isn't having it. But yeah, it took like a solid 30 minutes of me having to insist, no, I'm not here for operations. Yeah, that's bad. Like, that's like very bad.
Yeah.
And to be another thing I realized afterwards, if I'd let them go ahead with it, I probably then could have sued and gotten. I'd be able to retire. But I messed up. I should just let them do it. Yeah.
That have actually worked. Like you would have sued them. It's like I didn't know what was happening. I was getting operated on. Couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I went in for my hearing test and now I'm missing a leg. Oh, no.
I think I'm going to be the one to break up the party again because I'm a terrible person.
Are you going to put Greek yogurt on chicken?
Let's go with that. Yeah.
I'm glad this is taken off.
My landlord is coming in to inspect the apartment in a few days. So
you're going to go rub Greek chicken on the landlord?
Yeah.
Wait, that's a real thing? To inspect the apartment? Why?
In case we're like punching holes in walls or, I don't know,
How long have you...
everything on fire?
How long have you been living there?
It's a yearly thing. I've been living here.
Come in once a year? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
I feel like that should be done here, but nobody ever does it. I don't know. In any of the places that I've lived.
In prep for that, I have to go clean up and make sure everything is nice.
What?
So,
are you sure you don't want to instead not clean and just explain the process to us repeatedly for about an hour or two?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay.
But maybe next time. That sounds like a good time. Maybe next time.
Before you do, though, if there are any holes in the wall from you punching them, fill those up with yogurt. It works a treat.
Oh, okay.
There's chicken.
I really shouldn't go on a tangent here because I'm
please continue.
There is one of the weirdest goddamn YouTube channels out there where their whole shtick is they take like some household item, like a chair or something, and they show that there's a hole in it or it's broken, and then they fill it with random
Noodles.
foodstuffs like noodles,
Yeah.
like dried ramen noodles, and then
It's so
plaster it
good.
over, and then they show you the finished chair, and they're just like, that's it, that's
Little
all the
stick, it's, like,
content,
perfect.
and they get millions of views. I don't get it. Why do people want to watch noodles go in a chair? Who wants
so
that?
good.
Evidently, millions of people want that. I don't understand. Anyways, I'm gonna go put noodles in chairs. Bye-bye.
Bye, Octavian.
Nice.
That was fun.
Yeah, they do the inspection thing in Australia a lot too. Like every 3 to 6 months, someone comes in their house. Our last landlord was really painful about it too. She'd like open up the air
3?
conditioner. Yeah, and she'd be like, open up the air conditioner and be like, the filters need cleaning. And she'd like open the oven and have a look inside and like, it's a bit greasy in there. You're gonna have to clean that up. I'm like,
It's like the opposite here.
Yeah,
So
I
they
had,
don't
like,
want to come over
my
because
last
if the
apartment was-
filter's dirty, they gotta clean it. Like, what the fuck? It's crazy.
You are a bottom class citizen if you rent in Australia. You get treated like a criminal at the best of times. Feels good being a house owner finally. Yo. Feels
I
so
didn't have
good.
anyone peep in for the 8 or 9 years I lived in my last apartment. Not a
Damn.
single time.
In the UK, they just tend to do inspections when you leave, and then they just bill you for everything. When I moved out of I had a flat with an ex, and at one point we dropped something and it made a massive hole in the floor. So for the entire time the person was coming around to inspect, I very carefully and subtly was stood on one key part and was just pivoting because I knew that if I lifted my foot, she'd notice the hole in the floor. I managed to get away with it, but I thought I'm like, yes, interesting. Oh, you want me to point that out? Let me just lean and
Wait, you actually took that risk? I feel like
Yeah.
that's way worse. Like you just showed a hole
No.
instead of taking the risk of
No.
being captured.
I was like 20 and we couldn't afford it, so I'm like, I'm standing my ground. We're standing this thing, if I'd known I could have rubbed noodles in it, I would have done that. But I wasn't. This is like 8-9 years ago. We didn't have that technology back then.